All right. Welcome back, buddy.
Hey, man.
How's things going?
Busy as always.
Yeah.
A lot
of overtime going around.
A lot of overtime. I might go in tonight. I worked yesterday, an overtime shift. The girls got mad at me, but they're like, all right, Disney, cool.
All right.
Right?
I got called for last night, and I didn't go.
Yeah, no, I know. I was there. I was like, well, tell Ben. And they're like, why don't you tell Ben? And I was like, I don't want to.
No, I'm not coming in. It's that season. It's like we go through
vacation
It's
time.
vacation season. We go through it all the time. It's good money.
Yeah, I mean, I can't turn it down.
No.
That's the hard part, because we told the girls we'd take them back,
Mm-hmm.
so to Disney. And, I told my wife, she was getting irritated. And I'm like, listen, 5 more shifts and we can go to Disney. They're throwing so much money at us.
Yeah, I would have worked last night too, but we had this going on today, and I worked the night before for OT.
Honestly, I thought that for a minute there, I thought I was going to work 24 straight hours.
I don't think I've ever... I think
there's only one person that's come close, and they worked 22.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I saw somebody, it was way back when, who's now moved on to
Yep. Yeah, we're talking about the same guy.
Yeah. That was a while ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. That was when I first started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that. I didn't remember if it was a full day, but...
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was, I think I came in for him so that he could
go home
out.
finally. Yeah, you came in early.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember those days. Well, today we got something where we've been talking about border control, immigration, trafficking.
Yeah, it's one that we've been trying to do for a while, and we keep getting bounced because of everything on
else.
fire.
Yeah. Hit me with it. Hit me with your thoughts.
My thoughts on immigration?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that video clip of either from The Big Sick. Have you seen it?
No, I don't know.
It's Ray Romano, and it's the guy from he's in the Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle or whatever.
Okay, which one, Harold or Kumar?
He's Kumar.
Okay.
Right? So
yep.
it's he looks Middle Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
And Ray Romano goes, so, 9/11. He's talking to him. He's like, what about it? He goes, I've just always wanted to talk to people about it. He goes, you've never talked to people about 9/11? So it's a giant joke, right? It's a comedy, kind of a comedy. It's a comedy about cancer. It's like a sad comedy.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes, well, I think it was a tragedy. We lost 19 of our best guys. And they look, and he goes, that was a joke. You realize, oh shit, they weren't ready for that. But that's kind of how I feel you just set me up. Immigration, go.
What is it?
The hell are you talking about?
Well, I mean, it is a joke if you're thinking about the border.
Dude, it's tough. So we've talked about it. I used to work for DHS.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was there, that was during the Obama administration. It was bad then, but it was... Right, the big cover-ups on everything, right? How do we make our numbers look not so bad?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so the Obama administration implemented the turn back around. So they were just telling people to turn around. They weren't doing anything, but then there was no record. So then you base your numbers off of record,
right,
or recorded
incidents. That's what I think that's what got me with this whole ordeal was, they don't have solid numbers anywhere you look. They can't tell you.
Well, they can't. They don't. They can't.
No, and the only thing they record is encounters, right? So that's how many encounters.
Not even encounters, really, because. And I've been out so long, I don't know, but they don't count encounters where nothing happens. I'm pretty sure. I think it's still there's the reports.
Okay.
The encounters, if they have to document anything.
Yeah,
right.
That's
so
what
if
it
they're
made
just
it sound.
sending people back. So they did this. They used to do what was called expedited removal, which is basically just get the fuck out of here. And that would be a document, but would be documented?
Was that inside the border? So they cross the border, you catch them, you're out of here.
Yeah, but even Border Patrol did expedited removals. So yes, I worked for Customs, and yeah, that's what we did. So if someone came in that they had committed a felony, you can't come in.
Yeah, you're gone.
Right.
Okay.
So that's like an expedited removal. Like you don't get to see a judge. You're not allowed in.
So all that's coming through
But
the port.
even Border Patrol used to do that where they'd just like document who they were and then kick them.
Yeah. Yeah, it blew my mind in researching and stuff for this. They only record encounters where they actually physically have contact with somebody, and then if you're in a group of 5 people, that's 5 encounters, obviously. But
Do
they
they
don't
count that as 5 encounters? Or do they count that as one
no, they
encounter
count it
with
as
5
5.
people? Okay.
Every person counts
Okay.
as one.
All right.
And what they don't encounter is one of the Border Patrol agents said the part of the skewing of numbers that they're playing, the numbers game, is that they will watch a group of 200 people on camera, or they have drones that are up watching, or they've even taken the aerostat that we had in the military, and people don't realize what the aerostat is. It's this giant blimp on like a 4-inch cable that they raise about 3,000 feet in the air,
Right.
and it's full of sophisticated camera gear, and they have them. They've got like 10 of them down the border, and they're using stuff like that now.
Well, they've been using like Predator drones
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah. And
Like they were using Predator drones, and it's funny, like you talk about the different borders. Like the northern border had a Predator drone. For what?
Canadians are probably worse.
Bro, you know what the encounters were up there? People on snowmobiles
Right.
going across the border, not realizing that they were,
Mistakenly,
and
yeah.
going back. Do you know why? Because they went back home.
Right. It's weird the way this is all working, because, I mean, I can remember late 90s, early 2000s. There was a lot of drugs coming from Canada here, but it was
For sure.
it was
through
marijuana.
the ports. And it was through the ports.
Yeah, and
Like
it was pot. It wasn't
Yeah.
like freaking fentanyl. It wasn't opioids. It wasn't heroin. It wasn't
Well,
cocaine.
I think there was some other ones too. I believe there was some. I think it was heroin, maybe.
Really?
I don't remember. I guess I'd have to go back and look at some of my stuff that I still have. But I know the biggest ones were like cattle. The trucks that transport cattle, they just raised the floor and filled the floor with. So they'd unload them and it'd just be covered in cow shit. And they're like, no one's gonna look. No one's gonna see that the floor was fucked up. But they figured it out. One of the customs guys, I think, in Washington, was from a farm, and he's like, this isn't right. Like, he's just looking at the trailer. He's like, that floor's too high. And that's how they found it.
That's how
Like,
they
it was
find
a
it.
farm guy, right? Like, everyone else is like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I mean, they unload the cattle to, like, USDA. They inspect the livestock. But then they kind of, like, because another agency's seeing it, like, it kind of gets kicked quicker.
That's unreal.
And then they inspect, like they're supposed to inspect the trucks and stuff, but they're not inspecting for drugs. But like the whole 52-foot long truck was just like bundles of bricks of marijuana underneath. And how many of those do you think
That's
got in before a guy's
a
like,
lot.
wait a second, this
Right.
this looks different.
One guy figures it out.
Correct.
I mean,
That's
seen
how
it.
a lot of that shit is, though.
We've all seen those classes where, like, there's false, bottoms to things, and like pallets of wood that are cut
Yeah,
in the
man.
middle, and like, you all get those search classes where you have to search material and you find the crap.
Well,
like
yeah,
that.
for you guys in the military, they were a lot different than
Oh yeah.
for a lot of people. But yeah, we went through the same thing. Like when I went through FLETC, like they had a junkyard of all the vehicles that they had found like hidden compartments and shit in, so that you went out there and they showed you like,
That's cool.
and then you had to go find the shit.
Yeah, for us it was a little different. I mean, we were
For sure, you're looking for bang bang things.
boom boom. We didn't
Yeah,
care
boom,
about
boom,
anything
yeah.
else.
That's
yeah.
better than worse than bang bang.
Yeah, and usually you didn't find it, or
Yeah, it went boom.
sadly enough, the Iraqis found it because they were always out
Sure.
searching stuff, and
Yeah.
and you just picked up
Pieces.
the pieces
Yeah,
afterwards.
that's sad.
It is sad, but I mean
That's what it is. Like that's what the job was, right? Like
and that's kind of my fear with now. It was so easy to manipulate people to do stupid stuff, right? Over in Iraq or Afghanistan, you either had young impressionable people that wanted to be part of the fight against the West, the whole thing,
yeah.
and they'd clack off an S-Vest or they'd clack off a VBIED, and there's 100 people that are no longer on the planet that were right
Yeah,
around
dude.
them. Well, it seems like they're able to get through the border rather easily. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, a lot of that stuff, like even getting through the border, like think about, I mean, have you ever gone across a land border?
mm-mm.
There's a line of cars. At most ports, there's a line of cars, and you
Yeah.
wait for hours. And it's the same guys for all these cars, right? Like, so unless they have like a gut feeling about you, they're kicking you down the road. Like they're looking.
That's my fear.
Yeah, well,
That's my
you don't
fear.
have to have anything across the border. Even if they search the car, like, hey, this doesn't feel right. Like, hey, I'm just coming up for the day.
Right.
What for? What? Well, I'm going to this specific store. I bought this, and show a receipt. Like, oh, okay, go ahead. You know,
Well, and
especially in an area where the town is split because of the border.
That's my biggest fear, right?
Yeah,
Like,
you can come right in and then go
I've got-
wherever.
I'm going to my, cousin's quinceañera at,
For sure.
in Brownsville.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm coming back home. I got to work tomorrow.
Right across the border.
Yeah.
And you get across the border and you're just like, well, now I'm gone. I can
You're
go
in.
do- I can do
Yeah,
whatever I
you're
want.
in. There's no way to track that. But that's been the issue forever.
I know. And the thing that gets me is it hasn't been exploited or used yet. And it's coming.
Well, I think you're seeing that, right? Like there was that, we talked about the 11 terrorists, right? It was 11
I think
that
it
were
was-
caught? We did this last time too, and we looked it up.
I think you
Anyways,
said
there was over 10, or 7 to 10
The ISIS fighters.
of the ISIS guys
Yeah.
that were caught. That network has smuggled in 400 people. So whether or not they're just smuggling people for money, which is a big thing,
Mm-hmm.
or those are actual terrorists.
Right. Yeah. When you look at terms of ISIS, you're probably getting the more violent. Al Qaeda more cunning, and they're trying to go with the bigger attack. ISIS is going for the more brutal.
Do you think that Al Qaeda will still go for the big attack, though?
Yeah.
Don't you think that they could do more damage with the lone wolf, just a bunch of them everywhere?
Different mindsets.
Different, yeah, I guess.
Different
Different
mindsets.
ideology.
Mm-hmm. Al Qaeda is more about hallmark, putting it in the
Right, making
books
it
of
big.
history.
Yeah,
ISIS is more about just kill everybody.
just do it.
They want the caliphate back. Al Qaeda wasn't going for a caliphate. They were trying to kill the West. ISIS is trying to reinstate a caliphate and bring about like
Yeah,
the
I guess.
Islamic Revolution.
I guess.
Kind of two different things. And
Mm-hmm.
what's scary is what you can justify. You know, whatever it is to get to to your end game. What they can justify to reach that end game. And I mean, we saw that with ISIS as they were rolling across Iraq, right? I mean, they were just gunning people down.
Yeah, they
and
were just killing everyone.
putting everybody in a line, beheading people, drowning them in cages, starting them on fire. I mean, like the most brutal things they could do, they would do. And so, I mean, you got to think about this. If you're willing to do that to, people that are just like you, that you don't hate, what
Yeah,
I mean?
for
What are
sure.
you willing to do to people that you say you hate?
What was the brutality part of it? Just
Shock
for
and
the
awe.
statement?
Shock
Is that
and
all
awe,
that was
yeah,
for?
Shock and awe. They looked at all the Iraqis and everybody who worked with the West as they were traitors, treasonous, or whatever. And I mean, there was a while there where I was reviewing videos where they were coming up on vehicles driving down the road. Somehow they got a list of Iraqis out of their computer system for Iraqi police and Iraqi army.
Jesus Christ!
And they just worked down that list and killed everybody that they could.
Fuck.
They went to an Iraqi police training ground, like a training center.
Yeah.
Rounded them all up, lined them up, probably 200 dudes. And this is what gets me. The 200 dudes surrendered to maybe 30 or 40.
How is that a thing? Like, where are the weapons?
They're so... I observed this firsthand where we had these guys in Iraq that were training them to do their own thing, right?
Yeah.
And they were so feminine. They couldn't do jumping jacks. They couldn't do push-ups. Simple things they couldn't do because they've never been made to be physical. You know what I mean? I don't think Saddam Hussein let a large portion of his population be men.
He wasn't out there like Michelle trying to get people to exercise.
Right. Big Mike and the boys getting people exercise.
Let's delete that.
He, in terms of Saddam
Oh,
Hussein,
okay. Yeah.
he didn't, I think he used it as a a point of control. Because you definitely had two different like groups. Like if you came across members who were previous Iraqi military, they were very masculine. Everyone else just seemed very like they missed out on it. You know what I mean? And easily, there were some that were great to work with that were, I don't know, they've seen way too many Rambo movies type thing.
Yeah.
And then there were some who just were awful. I mean, as soon as stuff started happening, you're like, it was like Roadrunner going the other direction. You just saw a cloud of smoke.
Sure.
You're like, where are you going?
They had the flight.
Yeah. Which, I mean, you see American soldiers like that too.
Yeah, for sure.
You
everyone's got that, right? You're never going to know where you're going to be until you are in a situation.
Well, yeah, I mean,
you can train. You can train as much as you want, but
that's the one thing we do very well in the American military is that it's a trained response.
Yeah.
And I think that when you are around so many guys and you're being trained the same way, it's almost like you don't want to be the guy that doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't want to be the guy who's like the letdown of everybody.
Well, I think the other thing is that we're fortunate enough to have people that are willing to go do that.
It's volunteer, right?
Yeah. Like, and I'm sure that they were volunteer too, but it was kind of more of a necessity volunteer, right?
Yeah, most of them did it out for pay. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I mean, it was a job to them.
So it wasn't. Okay. I thought maybe it was like, well, I will still volunteer, but it's not because I want to, it's because we need to.
No.
So it was strictly a pay thing.
It was, yeah.
Then you're going to have flight all the time.
Yeah. And that's what it was. I mean, one of the more stable jobs that was in the country after we had taken over the country was putting those guys in the military. They were getting a weekly paycheck.
Yeah.
So, they were there and they weren't impressive.
Yeah.
There's, I mean, there's several large operations that they went on where they lost a lot of dudes because we were pushing them out in front. They have to take over at some point. And then,
you're trying to get them there.
And then as we are moving up with them, they're getting ate up and then they don't want to do anything. And then we'd be like, all right, get behind us, follow us in, take your weapons, drop your mag, get that round out of the chamber. Don't shoot while I'm shooting. If I'm in front of you,
if you're going to be
just
behind
watch.
us, we're going to carry your ammo.
Just watch. Yeah. And that went on for a while too, and it was, I don't know, it was garbage. But
well, I mean, yeah.
But that's what scares me. You know, like you can get a lot done as a terrorist with just like you said, one lone wolf.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you get one guy with one high capacity weapon, and I'm not talking like an AR-15. I'm talking like you sneak a machine gun in. And you have 200 rounds, you can do a lot of damage very quickly. I mean, the Vegas shooter, right, had bump stocks, apparently.
Yeah. There's a lot of...
I will never believe that, and I've said this over and over again, and people who...
Well, you can listen to the sound.
For anybody who's listening to that sound, here's a little homework assignment for anybody out there that's not military, that has somebody who's been in the military that you know has done some stuff like deployed.
Not a gun enthusiast.
Mm-hmm. Ask them if that sounds like a 240 Bravo or if it sounds like a 308 when it's shooting. You can actually hear, because a 240, depending on what gas setting you used to have the thing on, because there's 3 gas settings you could have it on depending on how you have your gun set up. You can hear it start off fast and then you can hear it start slowing down because the gas ports are starting to plug.
Sure.
So you'd hear it do this whole like it goes quick and then it slows down and it's like chugging along. And with that video, I swear, I mean,
well, you're not the only one. There's a whole thing on it. A lot of military guys are like, this is not what that weapon was.
Yeah, it was a 240. Like you'll never convince me that was.
How much of that has come out, right? Like how much of any of that's come out?
You've heard nothing. There's
There's
still no motive for why.
Did they ever find her?
His wife?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah, they found her, but there's no motive for why.
Yeah, there was nothing. There's nothing. There was not even like a push from the media to, wait, why did this happen?
Right.
Nothing.
And so, again, that's
the guy used a freight elevator. Like,
right.
Come on.
I know. And he kind of seems a little bit like a Lee Harvey Oswald to me. You know what I mean? Like, it is.
Yeah, I just don't know. Like, I understand it. At the same time, I don't get, like...
Yeah.
I can't get... I don't know if it's that I can't get there. I don't want to get there. It's more of a I don't want to get there.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Like I know for I can't say for a fact, right? I'm saying for a fact, but I mean I know from
Right.
my experience.
You know from experience.
that was not a freaking 308 rifle with a bump stock. That was absolutely
Well, listen, I know from YouTube videos of the two weapons that it's not.
yeah. I mean, it
Like,
doesn't
just go listen to the sounds of the two weapons.
right. So I mean, but look at the damage that guy did, and he from an elevated position. There might be more that we don't know about with that story, but whatever. I mean, but one guy can do a hell of a lot of damage, and if
Yeah.
your border's open, and it's like Trump has been saying forever: if you don't have a border, you don't have a country.
Correct.
And even under Obama, the border wasn't this crazy. I mean, I've got some information on Obama where Obama had slightly more than Trump in terms of illegal immigration over his 8 years, but Obama put some policies in place where he was doing things like separating kids from their families and things like that. And
Well, we found that all the pictures they used of Trump locking kids in cages were pictures from the Obama administration.
correct, and they were using it like when AOC went down there and she was complaining about
Crying at the
border.
at the fence in her complete white getup.
But I'm going to give Obama a little credit here. I wasn't a fan of Obama's presidency because I think he kind of chopped us up into groups and was really the most divisive president we ever had. But Obama understood what was taking place, and he removed kids from the people they were with and put them in a detention center
Until you can figure out who they are.
until you figure out who they are and if these people who are really with them are their family, because they're catching people with kids that weren't theirs.
Well, and like the Tom Holman, I wish we had that soundbite, but when he was going after people about when they come after him about you separated kids, I think it was in Congress. He's
Yeah, and
like,
he's
what do you do when
a
a
DUI
parent
arrest, yeah.
is arrested for DUI and it's a single parent? What are you doing? You're separating the kids until you can find their family.
Yeah,
It's the same thing.
A
What do you
crime is
do
a
when you
crime.
go into a domestic situation where the dad killed the mom and there's kids in the house?
Yeah.
You're separating them.
yeah, it's a crime.
It's a crime.
But I think Obama and Trump understood that, okay, these kids are vulnerable. And Trump, I think, really expanded on it and took it to a different area where he was absolutely not going to let these kids go for any reason unless there's a decent system put in place. And I think that made a lot of people mad, because here these kids are sitting in cages,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
the optics of it look bad.
Well, yeah, but okay, so not just the optics. Of course, the optics look bad, but you're directly like misstating what the purpose of that is. It wasn't to separate and lock up kids. It was to make sure these kids are put in a safe area.
Well, you
or
said
with
this.
family.
You said this in the last podcast. The messaging game.
Yeah,
Liberals are good at sticking together.
liberals are very good at
getting
sticking
their
together.
and getting their messaging game out.
They
And
send out their talking points,
Right.
and everybody from the media on down
is on board,
uses the exact same words.
right? And so I think that's the struggle that Trump had, is he couldn't get his people to articulate it, where it was like, hey, listen, we're doing this because they're coming across the border with people that aren't their family, and we don't want them sold into slavery. So yeah, we're trying our best to find their families, and yes, we're going to continue to take these kids away from people because they're coming across with people that aren't their family. So that's the bad thing, is when you're fighting the Democrats, who have a much better messaging game than you do, and they have 7/8 of the media on their side in that same battle, running cover for them and repeating the same message, like you said. It's a losing battle. I mean, you're going to be made out to be the villain. And honestly, whether it's intentionally, or not, the villain on that is the people who are saying, you have to release those kids right away. And the reason why is because now we're starting to see that these kids are being released into sponsors care, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody can show up to
Yeah.
be a sponsor and say they know this kid.
Yeah.
And then they just do absolutely no vetting, and off the kid goes with his sponsor.
Yeah.
I have a good video clip that I want to play.
Okay. I also had that NBC article about it.
Okay. Go ahead and read that, and then I'm going to play this video clip.
Okay, I meant like I have it, not right this second. Okay, I got it. It's right here. Okay. So report finds more than 350 migrant kids were sent to live with non-relatives who sponsored other children. Non-relatives.
Non-relatives who sponsored
So
other children.
How do they know them?
So the Border Patrol report that I saw was it was a Border Patrol whistleblower who came across and said it was the same individual showing up multiple times to pick up multiple kids as a sponsor.
Yeah.
And he was broken down.
Yeah, I tried to find that, but...
Well, you can find it if you look for his wife. His wife is now blowing the whistle for him. He doesn't want any part of it. He's pretty much done. But he knows that these kids are going into trafficking.
Yeah, that's what this says is like they were released to live with non-family sponsors hosting 3 or more unaccompanied kids, says a new Health and Human Services Department audit, raising questions among advocates who worry that some minors are being sponsored by strangers who could exploit them for child labor.
That's
child
exactly
labor,
what's happening.
that's not the only one.
It's not. I mean, there's
sex trafficking.
Yep. So here we go. I'm going to play this. This is Josh Hawley going after Mayorkas. And this is Mayorkas has been invited back multiple times to talk about this.
Invited back.
He still has no clue what's going on.
No.
So we're going to play this.
Mr. Secretary, you're taking special agents away from investigating child traffickers and child exploitation when you've lost tens of thousands of kids to traffickers, and you're sending them to make sandwiches at the border. What is going on? Mr. Secretary, when you were last before this committee, we talked about the tens of thousands, it's actually 420,000 unaccompanied migrant children who have come across the border under your watch. We talked about the reports of the number of these children who have been lost, who have been sold into labor trafficking, into sex trafficking. Since your last appearance, the numbers have grown worse. It now approaches 100,000 children, according to public reports, 100,000 children lost by your department and the Biden administration, migrant children sold into labor trafficking and sex trafficking. Now, your Department of Homeland Security Investigations has the authority to do child exploitation investigations. How many of these kids have you gotten back?
Senator, we actually have prioritized the rescue of children who have been human trafficked. Our role in the immigration process is to, with respect to unaccompanied children specifically, is to turn them over under the law within 72 hours to the Department of Health and Human Services, and that is indeed what we do.
But how many of the children, nearly 100,000 children in you've read the New York Times reports, I assume, Mr. Secretary.
I have read many reports, Senator Hawley.
But do you know what I'm talking about with the number of children who have been sent to operate heavy machinery, who are not being paid, who are not going to school, who are being denied food, migrant children unaccompanied, who are now in the clutches of labor traffickers? You're familiar with this, right?
That is precisely why I revised our worksite enforcement.
Good. How many of the kids have you gotten back then? 85,000 or more now lost contact with. It's been months since you were last here. How many of those children have you rescued?
Senator,
give me a number?
You are conflating issues.
So you can't give me a number. You haven't rescued any of these children. You haven't gotten any of them back.
You are conflating issues and what is within our remit and what is outside of it.
Okay. Well, it doesn't sound to me like this is a priority, and I have to tell you, that's what your own agents tell me as well.
Man, that's it makes me so angry. Like, just
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it before. Kids are off limits, right?
yeah.
But you just listen to him. He's not going to answer the question,
No, that's what makes me angry.
right? They're not going after these kids, and it's created an opening in the border. And whether you like it or not, there are people that are looking at this with kids as a business opportunity. I did a little searching, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry for child trafficking. Some are used for labor, like Senator Hawley put in there, where they're going to labor camps.
Yeah.
And some are going to be sexually exploited. So I did some more digging, and I went through several sites that have statistics on trafficking and whatnot, and here's what I came up with.
Mm-hmm.
Approximately throughout the world, there's 8 million children missing that are reported each year. 8 million a year.
Jesus
Worldwide.
Christ.
That's a lot.
That's a
I
lot.
mean, granted, we have a lot of people, 7 billion on the planet, but 8 million kids, that's a lot. And that's only
That's
what's
just going
reported.
missing,
That's
right?
that's just what's reported, right?
Right.
What really gets me in the United States, 2,300 a day.
2,300 a day go missing.
2,300 a day go missing from the
My
United
God.
States. All right. So over 365,000 children a year go missing from the United States. Now, the
325,000 a year.
325,000 a year go missing over between 325 and 365.
Is that how many go? Is that how many go missing and are not found, or is that like just all of them that go missing?
That's all of them that go missing.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
So that's according to SavedInAmerica.org.
Okay.
Okay. They go on to say about 1% stay missing, which is a lot. Because most of them, when you report a missing child, it's probably like, oh,
stay
they
missing.
ran away or they went to their friend's house.
Sure, you're at a fair.
You're not finding 1%. But 30% of those missing children are trafficked.
30% of the 1% that's not found.
Of the 360 or the
So
325 to 365.
find
They come back, but they've been trafficked.
they've been trafficked from when they went missing to when they've been found.
Correct.
Fuck.
So 30% are trafficked, and that is absolutely disgusting.
And that's sex trafficking, or what is that?
If they're found, I'm sure it's sex trafficking.
Yeah.
Right? So they don't differentiate between sex or labor trafficked. They just say trafficked on this.
Okay.
And I think that is it's one of those where they're probably building numbers together to make for more of an impact.
Mm-hmm.
But I would imagine labor trafficking is far less serious.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I was.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I was kind of thinking like trafficked for like, I don't know, people, the crazy people that just want a kid. You know what I mean?
There's that too. There's some of
Yeah.
that too. We
Yeah.
saw that in Haiti with with
Like people just taking people because they can't have kids or whatever, and they're whatever.
well, it was that that came through in the Clinton email
You or
stuff.
me?
It's probably both of us.
Yeah.
That happened in Haiti, where there was the Clinton email scandal crap led on that Hillary had knowledge of like a missionary group that went to Haiti, and after that Haitian, and was it the earthquake or whatever?
Yeah, I think it was the earthquake that started the debacle.
And they took 30 kids and went over to from Haiti. They tried to sneak into the Dominican, and got caught at the border and got arrested. And then Hillary swore she wouldn't step in, but then Bill stepped in and said we need to come to a resolution. And the conspiracy was they were going to traffic these kids in terms of sexual exploits, but then I think the consensus that everybody came to is that they were trying to do the illegal adoption scandal, right? Like they're taking these kids to, I mean, there's so much money in adoption that's a grift too. You know what I mean? I mean, if you think about it, it's like I've heard of people paying $35,000-$40,000 to adopt a child. That's crazy that you could just sell a child.
Yeah, some of that's like because once the mother puts up, and maybe I'm misstating things. I don't mean to intentionally, but I know that we kind of talked about it once before. Brenda and I had a bunch of fertility issues.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to have a kid, 2 kids. But at one point, like we were talking about adopting. And once you, like, if you find someone who's pregnant, who's going to give it up or whatever, once they agree, like, you have to pay all their medical bills. So, like, the payment isn't just for the kid. You know what I mean?
But then what happens with, like, the ones that already
Because
have... But if you're going to an agency that already has the baby, where's that coming from?
It's all, like, lawyer fees.
That's insane.
Like, you don't actually... The mother doesn't actually get money. They get, like, stuff provided, right? Like, stuff that they need.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't actually get, like, paid.
Well, it's insane to me. Like, it's insane to me that you can, like in this instance, right? I mean, it just seems like it's all pure profit. Then you go to a place where there's a refugee camp.
Yeah.
You scoop up a bunch of kids. You take them over to this place. You tell everybody, like they did in Haiti, that their parents were killed in this disaster, which was not true. All these kids had parents still. You take the child. You put them up for adoption for $30, $40, $50, whatever $1,000 it is. And really all you're doing is your overhead is your whatever it takes to feed them and clothe them until you have somebody come pick them up and take them home. You're selling kids that aren't, that weren't being put up for adoption. I mean, so yeah, I get what you're saying. That exists. It happened in Haiti, and it wasn't a good look for the Clintons, and just added more to the Clinton bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here's another statistic, and this is kind of what Josh Hawley in that video clip was referring to. 85,000 is a figure that refers to the number of children who could not be reached during follow-up calls, also known as welfare checks by the ORR. Now, you heard him say they turn over to HHS, and then ORR gets these kids, and then they basically they have them, the average is 7 days before a sponsor comes and picks them up. And that's where you were talking about that same sponsor was coming back and grabbing kids and pulling them out, right?
Yeah.
ORR representatives that's a call that ORR representatives make after a child is released from federal custody. And this was caught and reported in 2023 by the New York Times. Continuing, this is a quote from the House floor. As you mentioned in your testimony, in 2022 alone, immigration authorities encountered 152,000 unaccompanied minors, an all-time high. Many of these children who enter the U.S. illegally will be put at risk of sexual exploitation. In fact, our own government estimates are somewhere around 72% of those kids are going to be trafficked in the U.S. as immigrants.
My God.
72%. Is a huge freaking deal.
Yeah.
And nothing's being done. Nothing's being said. And it's just, operation as usual.
Yeah, they yeah, I don't even know how, we started with the immigration stuff, and we talked about, hey, do we want to do two, one on trafficking, one on immigration, and they're hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how I don't know what you can do, to be honest. We don't have the ability to hold everyone, right? So is it just finding people? And then how do you find people? You got to do DNA tests with everyone? You have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot honestly think that it is okay to just release people that they don't know.
So this is the part where I think that, unfortunately, we have a lot of people in a lot of places that are really good at pretending like they care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
they're not, they don't really care. And so it seems like every decision made is a political decision.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason why they're bringing in so many illegals, and they're, just hear me out. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant.
Yeah, go for it.
Biden's running for re-election. Obviously, all the problems that have recently shown up, he might not be the candidate. But still, in his campaign push, they're like, okay, we're going to run for a second term. What are our major problems? And the number one problem that the entire country is looking at right now is immigration. From the inner city all the way out to the boondocks.
Yeah.
People are seeing that border, and it's a disaster. They're seeing all these people come across the border every day, and they're like, what the hell are you doing? You got to fix that. And they have done nothing to fix it. And the reason they've done nothing to fix it is because later on down the road, they're looking at those as potential votes, right?
Yep.
If they can get a mass amnesty bill, like you said in the last podcast, when they are forcing them to register for, if they go and pick up a welfare check, they're registering for votes because we don't have voter ID. And again, that is something that the Democrats have said no, because it's racist. It's racist and blah, blah, blah. You can't afford that. Well, that's not what's going on. And everybody sees it and everybody knows it right now, that what they're trying to do is pick up the votes that they're losing with their crazy far left policies, because they're turning even people who are lefties into, libertarians by going so far left, right? So they're hoping they can create another welfare system with illegal immigrants to where they'll be voted for and continue to have that power, right? That's why they want it. It's called the replacement theory, that they've now come out and admitted that, yeah, we'll just replace them, right? We'll replace the voters we lost, and we'll continue to have power. That's what's taking place on the border. We see it. Biden that latest round of executive order during his campaign, where he's like, oh, we got a problem, we got to do something. And he touted this great new executive order where he's limiting the border asylum seekers, because this is what's happening with a lot of them. They've been taught and they've been coached and they've been educated. We talked about that in the past.
Yeah, we talked to the Red Cross, gives them maps.
And they're telling them, when you get across the border, claim that you're seeking asylum. Now, to be an asylum seeker, you have to have fear of your government, fear of retribution, fear of something. That's not what's taking place.
No.
They're just coming across the border and saying, hey, I'm afraid I'm an asylum seeker. I want to seek
But
asylum
once they
here.
declare that, it has to be adjudicated.
Has to be adjudicated. So this is where the Biden administration has let 7.2 million people go that they've encountered through asylum. So that number started to get out, and the Biden administration got scared. So what do you do then? The next thing you do is you implement an executive order that says, okay, we're going to meter the border, which has been done under Obama. It had been done under Trump, where they metered the border, and then they would cut things off and said, okay, you're going to remain in Mexico if you're Trump. That's what he did. And you'll stay there until your asylum-seeking case is brought forward. And then if we say that it's legit, which the vast majority of stuff that he went through, he said, no, it's not legit, you're not coming. But that remain in Mexico policy kept that 7.2 million people out of our border. Biden got rid of it, right? Now he sets up a program where you jump on an app, right? You log in through the app, you show up as an asylum seeker on the app, and they bring you in and they let you go because you've registered for your case. They've made an express lane to get into the United States through asylum, and that got caught. So the executive order comes out. This was in July. I think it was July 5th.
Yeah, but that executive order was the same one that he said he couldn't do, that they
Correct.
needed Congress to do.
Correct. He did it on his own.
They've been talking about this exact one for over a year.
He did it on his own, and here's what he did. 2,500 a day, asylum seekers, through this app still.
On an average of
Yep.
7-day average.
Yep. Can come across, and once you hit that 2,500, they shut it off. So that's still a hell of a lot of people. 2,500 a day. 2,500 a day throughout the course of the year is 912,500 people. Mm-hmm. So you're going to let 1 million people a year in on asylum
Yep.
without even vetting them. They're just coming into the country, and they'll never come back. They're never coming back to. So if you were to go 8 years, right, you're going to have 8 million more illegal immigrants come through that you're never going to have track of. On top of the 7.2 you've already put in, on top of there's 10 times that get away, right? The gotaways. It doesn't even count the gotaways that they have not caught. So just under the Biden administration alone to date, you've got 7.2 plus who knows how many illegals that got away, that got across the border, that have come through the border that's porous, right? So it's a giant problem. It's a giant national security risk, because we've already seen, you sent me that article, and I had seen it right before you sent it, of the Chinese that were just sent back, the first flight back.
Yeah, the first flight back. It's funny. I sent it to you in a text while you were working, and you sent it to me
In an email.
In an email at work.
While I was working.
Yeah.
At the same time. So you have the Chinese that were just sent back. You've got people like the Chinese. You've got ISIS. You've got the Venezuelan gangs. You've got MS-13 that's been here for a while, but they're still coming through. You got other cartel members coming through, and they're setting up shop all over the place. You're having, a lot of crime against American civilians with illegal immigrants, that's going to happen. I'm not saying that all illegal immigrants are bad, but when you increase a population, of course, they're going to become a portion of that population just by numbers, just by statistics, or just by the population growth alone. They're going to become a statistic to illegal immigrant crime. But you're seeing things that you shouldn't see, right? That little 12-year-old girl who was just raped and strangled to death and thrown in a river or a creek or whatever it was by the 2 immigrants that get caught.
That the AP has still not said we're illegal immigrants.
Right. And there's other aspects to illegal immigration too, and I don't know. Some of the stuff that's going on is it's disingenuous. They don't want to fix it. Mayorkas plays dumb, like, well, our responsibility is just to turn them over when we find them. No, your responsibility is to not let them in, and you should, as a human being, you should care enough, because kids are off limits. Like
100%.
I don't care if they're Hispanic kids. I don't care if they're Chinese kids. I don't care if they're Arabic kids.
Where they are from.
They're fucking kids.
They're kids.
They're kids.
Yeah.
Off limits.
Yeah.
The most precious commodity we have as the human population is our children, right? You
Yep.
take care of your kids. And I have had personal experience, as you hear growl.
Is that lady?
She's rubbing her face on the floor. It's that ear thing.
Oh, no, lady.
I've had personal experience. I've actually seen trafficking up close. She's really digging in that ear.
Yeah. Oh, lady.
What a dog.
Oh, man, she's mad.
She is mad.
She's angry.
She's coming for
She's
you.
gonna eat me.
Well, because you haven't scratched your head.
I know. She's gonna knock off the microphones.
Probably. We came across trafficking in Iraq. And as a, 25-year-old young kid, I didn't know what it was. And we had to leave it where it was. We couldn't do anything because it was accepted. So we came across a house full of young boys, probably from the ages of like 10 to...
Lady, go lay down. Go lay down, lady. She's gonna lay right here on my feet.
Yep. Probably from like 10 to 14. And something wasn't right. And we knew, like, you get that gut feeling that something's not right. And all these boys were like, they thought it was perfectly okay. And the common thing that we had come across over there was, we'd heard it all the time. And I can't honestly tell you if it's a cultural thing or what, but women are for breeding and boys are for pleasure. That's what a lot of people would say that over there. And, it was the first experience I had, and I'm like, we can't just leave these kids here. We got to kill these dudes. We got to shoot both these dudes that are here because there's 2 men in the house.
Yeah.
And my commander was like, no. I'm like, no, we got to take these dudes over here and hang them. Like, we can't. Yeah. Like, I'm not leaving these kids here in this house. Like, I have kids. I'm not doing that. I'm shooting this guy in the face. Mm-hmm. And
shoot him in the dick.
We had to leave. We left. We turned it over to the people we were supposed to turn it over to, and that was that. And that wasn't like and it was randomly and mistakenly found, right? Like it wasn't an operation we went on to like find these kids. We were just going through a neighborhood, knocking on doors with some intel guys trying to develop assets for them. And we just randomly came to this nicer house, and you go inside and there's a bunch of kids in there, and we're like, what the fuck is this? And that's how that started. And from that point on, I've kind of been like, well, that's freaking disgusting. Well, I've since learned you can take any situation like this, refugee camps, kids are getting trafficked out of refugee camps. You could take any natural disaster, they're getting trafficked out of that. It's such a massive industry, and there's so much money in it that if you can find a place where you think it would be happening, where there's a situation that provides an opening, they're taking advantage of it. Yeah. So right now, the biggest opening they have is our fucking southern border because the politicians aren't doing anything, right?
Well, they're clearly not doing anything about the trafficking situation. But it's almost like they're kind of turning a blind eye to that so that they don't have the optics of kids in cages. Like,
that's exactly
I don't want to be put in the same box that I tried to put the last administration in. So we're just gonna let them go. And we hope that they're not
I don't even think it's a we hope. They don't care, right?
Yeah, maybe. Like I said before,
85,000 kids that they try. No, we're gonna do the most you're gonna do for your due diligence is a follow-up call.
Yeah,
you're gonna release. Like, think about this. Do you think for a second any one of those people would let their kid go with some random stranger?
No.
On a camping trip? Just a random person that shows up. Hey, I'm here to pick up your daughter. We're going to go on a camping trip.
Yeah.
Do you think the most they would do is a call?
Mm-hmm.
3 months later?
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. Like, the thing that gets me is everybody's family in this whole, like, Mayorkas and everyone else, they would never do this with their own family.
Yeah.
But it's acceptable to do with somebody else's because they don't care.
Yeah.
So I don't even think it's the optics. It's just I don't care. It has nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? I don't care about these kids because they're not white. They're not white. Is that what it is? They're not American.
I don't know,
like,
man.
What is your
not American?
What is your shtick here? And then the other side of it is, I think they're like, okay, I think they play a percentage game. I think they're dirty enough that they're playing a percentage game, that some of these kids are going to end up being in this country and they're going to stay in this country and they're going to be voters at some point. You know what I mean? So they're like, oh, well, let's play the long game. I don't care what happens to them until they get to 18, 25 years old, when they finally, between that number, when they're starting to vote, because they're going to vote for us. And if
Yeah.
they're broken and fractured, they're going to be on the system. So, hey, you know what? It benefits us. So there's part of me that thinks they're slimy enough to play that game too.
Yeah.
Because they're not, I mean, they're not doing anything. I have a side-by-side comparison that I pulled up.
Yeah, I think I printed it.
The list of,
Right here, it's like 23 pages long.
yes. A side-by-side comparison of policies.
All right, let me just do this first. I want to go back on a couple things before you get through that.
Okay.
The voting stuff, where we're talking about
Okay.
having a vote. We had the article from the last episode that we talked about, that the administration is signing an executive order. This was from the Alabama Secretary of State, Wes Allen, said that their office found that every agency is required to send out voter information to everyone they come in contact with.
Voter registration to get them
So
registered.
Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security,
Welfare.
every office,
Every government program.
every office in the executive branch that deals with anyone is now supposed to register voters. It doesn't matter, like we've talked about, they don't know if they're U.S. citizens or not, and it doesn't matter.
They don't even check.
No, well,
Yeah.
you're not supposed to,
Right.
right? So, yeah, so we have that. We have 3 articles from, one from Vermont, the state GOP, Republican National Committee, sue Vermont City over non-citizen voting, that they're letting non-citizens vote in local elections. And we have one from the House of Representatives passed a measure to repeal DC's non-citizen voting law. So DC passed a law that said that non-citizens can vote, and luckily for the citizens of DC, Congress has the authority over the laws of DC. So they repealed that. And then there was another article about top Dems push for non-citizen voting rights. And this just talks about there's a bill that was advancing to get this was about the DC bill, but it outed a bunch of top Democrats that were trying to get this passed.
Yeah.
To allow them. The other thing I want to go back on is you talking about Mayorkas. When he was sitting down, there's a poll out that show that 62% of U.S. voters support new national program to deport all illegal immigrants. 62%.
That's a lot. That's a
And
staggering number.
They basically come out and said, like the President Biden announced, like he's that we don't need to deport them. We need to give a pathway to citizenship, whatever. And he says, and I agree with this quote, but I feel like he's using it wrong, right? Like he's trying to gear it to their side, but we're the United States of America, and nothing is beyond our capacity. We're a nation of immigrants, and that's who we are. Yes, we need to improve legal immigration. We need to streamline it. We need to create some sort of a way that is not taking years to get citizenship.
Right. It can't be a broken system.
It cannot be broken. You have to fix that part. But we are a nation of laws, and we are a nation of immigrants who came here legally. They went through Ellis Island. They did what they needed to do. Now we've fixed the immigration system. Let's get this streamlined. Let's improve that system. There's people who are married to U.S. citizens for multiple years. We talked about Riley Gaines' husband. You know, the swimmer that's going after the trans athletes in women's sports. They've been married 3 years. Her husband still is not a U.S. citizen. Why?
Yeah, you have to go through so much.
Well, not only that, and this is the conspiracy part of me, this is as deep as the conspiracy stuff gets, but do you think she'd have that much trouble if she was on the other side of the trans community?
Yeah, I don't
right?
know.
Do you think that the administration would help her out and just get it? Yeah, I do. All right, so now you can do, what are you looking up?
Hold on, I have one more.
All right. I just want to get that through before we go through that 25-page document.
No, that's good. This document's huge.
I just posted a picture of all the research that we do for the pod.
Yeah.
And so I just want to like go through those articles. Like we have, people are going to say like, they're not trying to let people vote. No, there's several states and there's more lawsuits out there. Like I'm not going to print them all because they're everywhere because it's cities that are doing it, not states.
Right.
So they are absolutely trying to get them to vote for school board, for
absolutely
for city council, student council.
There's places that
That's
are, like
different.
I said, that are letting them be on their city council, that are letting them
city
be
council,
and that's
well. You look. Was it California that's looking at hiring non-citizens to
yes,
be police?
Yes.
Well, how the hell does that work?
All right, you're gonna enforce laws on me that you're not
You're
even
not
a citizen
You've broken the laws.
Right. So before we get into this, the differences in policy, which is why we are where we are with the Biden administration, their train wreck that they've done.
Yeah.
I found it. This is kind of a funny thing for me, and you're going to tear this apart. I know you're. I'm not even going to. I haven't prepped this. I'm just waiting for your response.
I don't know anything about what you're about to play.
But I know you're going to tear it apart.
Am I going to be angry? Are they going to learn?
No, you'll
Pat?
laugh. You're going to laugh. And you'll be like, "That's."
I don't want them to know.
The dumbest thing I've ever heard.
People are like, "Your voice is so different on the podcast." I'm like, "I'm just talking, trying to be soft, trying to be quiet. I'm very loud."
This is the Carnegie Corporation of New York. They put out.
Oh God.
They put out 15 myths about immigration debunked.
15 myths debunked. Are we gonna have to debunk their debunking?
You're gonna do it in the first 2 seconds. I know it. In the first myth, I saw the first one. I've only read the first myth, and I thought about you, and I started laughing, and I was like, "All right, this is gonna be good."
Right,
myth 1: Immigrants will take American jobs, lower wages, and especially hurt the poor. That was the first myth. And their response to this is their fact. Fact: immigrants don't take American jobs, lower wages, or push the poor out of the labor market.
Really? What jobs are they taking then?
That's exactly
where the fuck are they? If they're you're literally crying. You knew exactly what was gonna happen.
Yeah, I did.
What the fuck are they taking Canadian jobs in America? Fuck are they talking about? Jesus Christ.
That went better than I thought.
Who is this? Who is this?
That went better than I thought it was going to go.
You literally have tears in your eyes. I think I'm going to have I didn't even take my blood pressure medication today, so...
I saw that, and the first thing I thought of was like, I can't wait to get your natural reaction because the sarcasm that's going to come out. All right, so...
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem with the podcast, doing all the research, is like we show each other the articles. So the initial reaction is probably the best, and then we have to try to recreate that.
I had the exact same reactions. Like, if they're not taking jobs here, where are they working?
Oh, they're taking all the fucking Chinese jobs in America. Lady, get down. They're so big.
All right, so myth number 2. It's easy to immigrate here legally.
I'm sorry, it's what?
It's easy to immigrate here illegally. Why don't illegal immigrants just get in line? Fact: it's very difficult to immigrate here illegally to the United States. Immigration law is second only to the income tax code in legal complexity, which I'll give them that one.
Yep, that's true. But hold on, are they saying it's easier to come in rather than stand in line? Like, yes, let's run through the fucking desert instead of standing in this line.
Right, that's what they're
saying.
saying.
They're saying that, well, these guys would be allowed in legally anyways, but the line's too long?
Right, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
3, immigrants abuse the welfare state. Fact: immigrants use significantly less welfare than a native-born American.
Really? So the fucking $12 billion that New York needs from the federal government because they can't fucking cover it, that's...
Yep.
Okay.
And this is going about exactly how I figured it would go. Myth 4. Immigrants increase the budget deficit and government debt. I can't even get through the fact portion of it. Fact: immigrants in the United States have about a net zero effect on government budgets. Hold on, I'm trying my best.
Everybody's going to have a different image of me after this.
They pay about as much in taxes as they consume in benefits.
Are they fucking telling me that
I can't even continue.
The immigrants in New York paid $12 billion in taxes? Is that what they're fucking saying?
I can't even. Okay, I gotta stop because I don't think I can make it through this.
You're crying. How in the fuck?
It's so
it's
ridiculous.
New York and it's $12 billion is costing them. They honestly think that those fucking people are paying $12 billion in taxes a year.
I'm sorry for breaking up, but I can't even get through this. Yeah,
it's okay.
It's so ridiculous
What the? Who the fuck was that?
This is the Carnegie, Carnegie.org.
This is a fucking should just be the Babylon Bee.
This is
the
the liberal.
fucking Onion.
Yeah,
None of that is fucking true. A net zero.
a net zero.
So they're saying. So in the debate we talked about it. They're saying that like there's 20 million. Trump said 20 million, right? And Biden didn't dispute it. Well, Biden wasn't technically all there. But nobody has disputed that since. All they're saying is the lies, right? Like,
Right.
well, all he did was tell lies, which they haven't specified what lies. I've been desperately trying to search for that. Anyways, he said there was 20 million illegal immigrants. And they're telling me those 20 illegal immigrants
20 million.
across the U.S. are a net zero.
Net zero. We're taxing them as much as they're making,
So there's
or as much as they're using.
how many? Well, that's not a good question. How many big cities are there? 2 in each state, 3 in each
Yeah,
state.
2 or 3 in each state, give or take. Yeah.
So there's 150 big cities. Now, nothing like New York, but New York is $12 billion. So let's say most of them are like
a billion.
let's say there's 10 big cities that are half of what New York are. So now you're talking 60 billion on top of the 12 billion. And that's not all of them. So they're saying that those 20 million people are paying, get your calculator out,
Oh my God.
are paying $72 billion in taxes a year.
Yeah, something like that.
So how much is that per person? 20 million at 72 billion. How much do they need to pay? Let's just do $100 million. $100 billion is what it costs the U.S.
Bro, I went in the military. This is way too many zeros for me to freaking.
Okay, well you can just do so billions, 6 places above a million.
I
right?
gotta turn my calculator sideways
No,
to get
4
this to
places.
work on my phone.
1 billion is 4 places over a million. So just do that. Just do thousands and
What did you have? 60 billion.
I'll just do 100 billion. We'll just say that's 100 billion it costs the U.S. every year,
Okay.
and there's 20 million people. So do 100,000 divided by 20.
$5,000.
So that's
So why didn't we just?
that's $5 million a person,
Yeah.
right? 5 million times 20 million is that's only 100 million.
Yeah.
It'd be like 5 trillion. No, it'd be like 500 million.
You're asking like the inflection in your voice is like posing that as a question to me.
Hang on, I can count zeros.
We just used a calculator.
This is why they consider you terrorists. You can't even do math.
We just used a calculator for 100,000. Come on, we could have just I thought I was the dumb one.
Well, I was trying to
Newsflash,
fucking.
I
You
am
said
the
I
dumb
can't
one."
count all these zeros.
No, my calculator had to turn it to the side. My phone won't go that high.
That's million. There's 1 billion divided by 20.
You're cutting all this out.
That's $5,000.
That's what I said. But then you have to times that by because you went to 100,000.
No, I did. That's 100 billion divided by 20 million. You got to add the zeros, bro. Wait, you fucked up the zeros even on the 100,000, didn't you?
No, I just did the math in my head.
Oh, that's the problem.
Well, no, because it came out
It
to
can't
5.
be my fault. I'm always right.
It came out to 5. Well,
That's what you said in the last
yeah,
one.
yeah, you're always right. Yeah, it can't be your fault. All right, let's move on to the next fact because it's going to get better.
No, it can't. You can't read them. You said.
I'm trying not to, but this is good.
So everyone's paying $5,000. I guess that might be. They're not though. They're not paying $5,000 in taxes. Not if they're on welfare. They aren't paying in $5,000. They're getting all that back at the end of the year. If they're on welfare,
Well,
that means they're below the fucking poverty line, right?
Yeah, but the math. I mean, you can't just say that everybody unilaterally is paying $5,000.
Yeah,
taxes.
that's every kid. That's everyone.
First off, immigrants are taking low-income jobs when they get here, and a lot of the immigrant jobs, because you can't hire illegally, are cash paid, so you're not getting any taxes out
Correct.
of that. So that's not happening. So to say net zero, I mean, sure, they're probably putting money back into the economy.
Well, I mean, anything you purchase.
Right.
But that is not the same as
No.
paying back what is being given out.
That's not helping my pocketbook.
First off, most of the stuff that they're paying for is the money that we're giving them. So that's just us using. That's not paying that back.
Right.
You'd have to double that.
That's what I'm saying. It's not helping me. My taxes are still being taken to pay for them, and they're not paying money into my taxes. They're just buying
But
commodities.
your
and goods.
Social Security is being affected.
Okay, so immigrants increase economic inequality. That's the myth. The fact is, maybe the evidence on how immigration affects economic inequality in the United States is mixed. Some research finds relatively small effects, and some find substantial ones. The standard of living is much more important than the income distribution. So basically, they say it's a myth that they're increasing economic inequality, and then it says, well, maybe there's some.
Fuck
and
did
maybe
they
there's
just
a lot.
say?
Maybe there's some. Maybe there's a lot. Well, of course, there's. They're creating.
Their whole like this is debunked, but maybe
Right.
that's not. Then that's not debunked.
Right. Myth 6. Today's immigration doesn't assimilate. Today's immigrant doesn't. They don't assimilate as immigrants from previous eras did.
Oh, really? Yeah. You're crying again. Why are you crying?
I'm trying my best not to laugh. All right, here we go. Fact. Immigrants to the United States, including Mexicans. Why do you have to put including Mexicans? Like, what do
Because those aren't real immigrants.
Dude, immigrants-
Apparently, the Carnegie Group doesn't think that
You're
they're.
picking the one that doesn't speak English that is like... Where,
The Chinese ones are immigrating so well.
Immigrants to the United States, including Mexicans, are assimilating as well as, or better than, immigrant groups from Europe over 100 years ago.
Really? Mm-hmm. Is that why we need fucking signs everywhere with languages? All the languages? Is that why Congress won't fucking pass that the national language is English?
We were, here's a story. I took my kids fishing when you were like, hey, we should try this. You know, we're going to try getting on the computers together. Last night I was
yeah.
like, oh, I would if I was home. We went fishing last night, and
Yeah, at the grocery store? You always catch something there.
and we got down to this lake that's down the road.
Okay.
And there was 2 Hispanic guys on the dock fishing. And so it's a pretty big dock, so we can get on the dock or whatever. So we got out on the dock, and we started talking or whatever, and they were talking in Spanish, and
You've been learning Spanish.
I have now got a year of Spanish under my belt,
Yes.
like intense, like everyday, you know, learning with classes and stuff where you're speaking with professors and stuff like that. That babble is awesome.
Yeah.
So as they're talking,
They should sponsor us.
right, they should sponsor us. As
All,
they're,
and our 25 listeners.
yeah, as these 2 guys are talking, my daughter's freaking out, and she's continuing like, Dad, what are they saying? Because every time I have a chance to talk to somebody in Spanish, I'm
Yeah,
talking to them in
yeah.
Spanish. And so I'm listening to their conversation. She's like, what are they saying? And I was like, well, shut up. One of them speaks English, and, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. And they were just talking about stuff, and he turned and because my daughter had caught a fish, and he's like, oh, you know, he's
Yeah.
asking me in English, broken English.
Yeah.
And as he catches a fish, like a little fish, I'm just sitting there listening, and I did not at any point let on that I could speak Spanish.
Sure.
And then finally I started talking to him, and he just whipped his head around like,
yeah.
and I
like,
think
oh, fuck, what did we say?
instantly, you could instantly see.
You can see the look.
The one guy with the guy who could speak English decent was older, and the
Yeah.
younger kid who couldn't speak English was just like,
Oh, shit, what did I call him?
what did I say? What did I
Yeah,
say? And
yeah.
then he's like, oh, how do you know Spanish? And I was like, oh, I'm studying. He's like, oh, cool. And then they got up and left.
Time to go.
It's time to leave. Didn't see that
Well,
coming.
you look like you're former military, probably customs, border protection.
The gringos
ICE.
speak Spanish. We gotta go.
Yeah, it's time to leave. He's law enforcement.
Yeah, I think that's funny. Yeah. Here's another one. Myth 7.
Okay.
Immigrants are a major source of crime. That's a myth. I'll agree with that.
Really?
Hold on.
Okay.
I'm going to qualify, except for coming into the country
Yeah,
illegally.
except for the first crime. That's where I was headed. All right, let's hear the debunked first.
Facts, immigrants, including illegal immigrants, are less likely to be incarcerated in prisons.
Yes, because we don't fucking arrest them. Okay, go ahead.
Convicted of crimes are arrested than native-born Americans. Okay.
I mean, I will agree that obviously, just like every group of people, right? There's going to be some bad ones, some good ones.
100%.
Like, not everyone commits crimes. However,
100%.
illegal immigrants all committed at least one.
Right. So, yeah. Here's the next one. Myth number 8. Immigrants pose a unique risk today because of terrorism. Fact.
That's not true. Debunk this for me, please.
Okay. Fact. The annual chance of being murdered in a terrorist attack committed by a foreign-born person on U.S. soil from 1975 through the end of 2017 was about 1 in 3.8 million per year. They qualified that with a terrorist attack.
Yes, we also don't call, like, I think we talked about it at work. No, I think we talked about it here. The gun crimes. Mass shootings aren't called mass shootings everywhere else. They're called terrorist attacks.
Correct. Yeah. The only terrorist attacks that we've had on this soil, I guess, unless you're, was it Timothy McVeigh?
McVeigh, Oklahoma City.
So, and that was maybe 100 and something to 300 and something people.
I don't remember. I should know that, but I don't remember how many it was.
But the only major terrorist attack we've had on this soil was what, 9/11?
Well, 9/11, Timothy McVeigh. You had the Unabomber, right? Those
Yep.
were all terrorist attacks.
The Unabomber was Ted Kaczynski with mailboxes, right?
Correct.
Like he didn't kill. It was like a
wasn't-
handful.
Yeah, it wasn't as many, but they were terrorist attacks. The first Trade Center bombing,
Yeah, 91, 92.
91, somewhere in there. 90, was it 92,
I don't think
93?
I don't think that killed anybody though, did it?
I don't know.
Because I know that Al Qaeda put that
Did
bomb
it
in
go
the
off
parking
early,
garage.
right?
No, they had
Well,
it in the parking garage.
Yeah, but I think it went off early, like if it went over a bump or something.
that sucks.
Oh. Maybe that's all wrong.
Drive this truck over
Maybe
here.
that's the scene of a movie. I don't know.
Drive this truck over here and park it next
You
to
didn't
this
tell me there
pillar.
were speed bumps.
Those numbers seem a little bit skewed. Well,
Maybe it was just that it was not placed in the right spot. Where they placed it, it didn't
Yeah.
do very much damage. Or didn't have as many casualties as it could have been.
That's how it was. I mean, they blew it up in the parking garage, hoping.
But
to
it
take
wasn't
down the
like, I think they were
structure.
trying to go underneath the structure, but it was mostly under the parking garage.
It was in the parking garage on.
No,
one of
I
the
mean
pillars.
like it was mostly just the parking, not under
Yeah.
the building.
Yes. Here's another myth 9. The United States has the most open immigration policy in the world. Fact. The annual inflow of immigrants to the United States as a percentage of our population is below that of most of the other rich countries in the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development.
Well, I mean, I guess unless you're fucking counting the open border, in which case, I guess we win.
We're winning at something.
Fucking 20 million illegal immigrants. Don't tell me it's not hard to get here.
Myth 10. Amnesty or a failure to enforce our immigration laws will destroy the rule of law in the United States. Fact. America's current immigration laws violate every principal component of the rule of law. Enforcing laws that are inherently capricious and that are contrary to our traditions is inconsistent with a stable rule of law. So enforcing immigration...
Will destabilize our laws.
Enforcing laws that are inherently capricious and that are contrary
What does
to our
capricious
traditions.
mean?
Yes.
Copy.
That's amazing. Fact. America's current immigration laws violate every principal component of the rule of law. That's an opinion. That's not a
Well,
fact, but they put it down as a fact.
No, that's a fact because they said so.
Yeah. And then enforcing laws that are inherently capricious.
Say that
And that
first line. Say that first non-fact fact again. Are
America's...
these like the alternative facts that Kelly Allen was always talking about?
Bro, these
they've
are-
got alternative facts.
These are something. This is a .org website. America's current immigration
Yeah,
laws.
but like anyone could. We could
Right.
start a .org for
Right, but when you term
Ben's whatever.
when you in school, right? You're going through school and you have to APA format. You have to cite your sources.
Yeah.
And your teachers are always like, "Well, it's not a .org. I'm looking for .org." And you're right. Anybody can do it, but
Well, listen. When we were in school, it was a lot different.
yeah,
Like the were there even really? Are you that much younger than me,
no, we're the same.
bro? There weren't any .orgs when we were in school. Like I remember my first. I think I got my first email account when I was a sophomore in high school.
I'm talking college. I'm not talking high school. I'm talking college.
I don't know. I drank.
Did you guys have to? Did you guys? Everything was APA in high school too.
Oh yeah. Well, so I went to a private school.
Oh yeah. See, it wasn't until our senior year.
Yeah,
where they're
no, you had to
everything's
cite
gotta be
everything, and
APA.
it had to be like,
Yeah.
dude, they wanted it from like the encyclopedia or like fucking like legit sources.
Yeah.
What's the encyclopedia doing now? Well, sorry, let's stay on the rails.
It's online and it's open to interpretation. I mean, it's got to be at this point, right? I mean, like the whole biology portion's been kicked down the road.
That's gone.
All right.
Sorry.
Yeah, that one was. Wow, huh?
Yeah. Can you say the thing about the thing again?
Yeah, I'll repeat that.
Repeat that last one.
America's current immigration laws violate every political component of the rule of law.
Stop. Read it again.
One more time.
Yeah.
One more time. America's current immigration laws violate every principal component of the rule of law. Yeah, I don't.
What? I don't understand that statement.
I don't think they didn't understand the statement.
Well,
Who wrote it?
do we have an author name? Who wrote this?
I'll get back to that one.
Can we tweet at this person and be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Oh yeah, we're gonna look at that. We'll have to look at that because this is pretty. This is great.
Maybe we can invite him on the pod.
Oh, I don't think that's a good idea.
Why? We can just literally just be like, "What do you mean?" Can you expand on that? Like they did the AOC, like that one person did the AOC and she couldn't explain anything. Can you expand on that?
Listen.
Can you expand on
Listen, you're an asshole on your good days.
Yeah.
And I don't give a fuck about feelings. So this person is not coming on our podcast.
that? But maybe they don't know it yet. Like we can just delay this one until they send a response and we record it.
Yeah, that would be great. That'd be
That
hilarious.
would be great.
All right. Myth 11.
That's
or did
not
we already do
it's
this?
not happening. No, we didn't do it. I still don't understand 10.
No, you can't.
How does the law about you can't come here illegally wreck our rule of laws?
Yeah, that's
I don't understand how that hurts. Like, I understand how there can be some laws that, like, affect other laws. But that one?
you're right. You're not a U.S. citizen, so
Yeah, so you're not really protected.
okay. Illegal immigration. This is myth 11. Illegal immigration or expanding legal immigration will destroy American national sovereignty. Fact: different immigration policies do not reduce the U.S. government's ability to defend American sovereignty.
What the fuck are they talking about? Hey, guess what? We can still go to war.
Right.
What?
Exactly. So we live here, right? And we know that there's recently things that are changing in terms of, do you remember I'm going to say a few months ago, it was longer than that ago, where we found out that there was a police force of Muslims enforcing Sharia law in Minneapolis?
What?
Do you remember that?
No?
So that's a good one for you to look up. It was on the news maybe,
I don't remember this at all.
it was within the last maybe 2 years.
Not actual police.
No.
Oh, okay.
But they, in their own community, they
So this wasn't like a sanctioned thing from Minneapolis Police Department?
Nope.
Well, you know they can call the, what's that? The call to prayer over
Yeah.
the
over the loudspeakers.
over loudspeakers
Yep.
all over the city now.
Yep. Which I don't have a problem with that. I don't care.
Only because I only care, again, the Ten Commandments thing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do it for anybody else.
Yeah, but nobody else does that.
What, like, but there's rules for like churches on how loud the bells can be.
Oh, well, that's bullshit then.
See?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. Because call to prayer, the first one is at sunrise, so I'm not really a fan of being woke up that early.
Here's the other thing. The laws are already in place. Like, you can't do any of that at certain times.
9 to 9, right? Like
I don't know.
city
I don't know
ordinances-
the actual...
Most city ordinances are always like 9
Right,
to 9.
but that's going to be way before.
Yep, that is. But, yeah, so the story I'm talking about is in their community. They had people walking around with actual uniforms enforcing Sharia law over your city laws or your state laws, your federal laws. Like, Sharia law is a hell of a lot more stringent than any of the laws that we have. Because you could get brought out in the street and beat as part of Sharia law. You look that up when we're done here, you're gonna be like, no shit, that happened, huh? I was blown away.
Well, wasn't there also the story recently about the fucking Chinese police operating in Minneapolis?
Was that another one?
That was several. They were operating in several states, like actual Chinese police from the Chinese government.
Yeah, see
like
that
keeping people in line from talking about the Chinese government.
that blows me away.
We'll have to look that up too. Like they were working out of the embassies.
Myth 12. Immigrants won't vote for the Republican Party. Look at what happened to California.
Sorry, what happened to California? They
Didn't turn red.
They
so.
haven't fucking voted Republican in how long?
Fact, Republican immigration policies pushed immigrants away, not the other way around.
Oh.
Okay, so by saying that immigrants shouldn't be here illegally, they're not going to vote Republican.
Can you go back to the first myth? The myth 11. Sorry, what myth was that? Just repeat this myth about the Republican thing.
Immigrants won't vote for the Republican Party.
And now go back to the other part, the last part you just read.
Republican immigration policies pushed immigrants away. Not
So they
the other way
won't fucking vote for Republicans. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah.
So the myth is that they won't vote for Republican, and the fact is they won't vote for fucking Republicans.
Because you
Got it.
Because you're Republican.
Because we have laws.
I knew this was going to be great.
This is making me irate.
When I found this, in full disclosure, I was like, I'm not sure he's going to have problems sleeping tonight if I fucking read this, even if it's at
I don't
noon.
even have a problem with what they're fucking like. Whatever. I have a problem with you fucking being dumb. Sorry, I almost used your word.
It's okay. It's been three times.
It's not okay. We can't use it.
Yeah, I got to stop.
Yeah.
But
We're gonna punish you somehow.
yeah.
I'm gonna force you for overtime. Every time you use it, you get another shift.
No.
You have to sign up.
Myth 13. Immigrants bring with them bad cultures, ideas, or other factors that will undermine and destroy our economic, political institutions. The resultant being weakening in economic growth means that immigrants will destroy more wealth than they will ever create over the long run.
What are they talking about here?
So this one's like split, right?
So can I sub-respond before you finish?
Yeah.
How's that fucking MS-13 culture?
Well, they're good people. They need hugs.
It's not everyone, do they?
Hugs.
Hugs.
Not.
Hugs. You go hug them.
Yeah, they need hugs. They don't need more violence. They need less violence.
Again, not everyone. Sure, cultures, whatever. But
here's the fact. There's no evidence that immigrants weaken or undermine American economic, political, or cultural institutions, except for when they're carrying out their own police forces and they're not assimilating and they're not adopting Western culture and they're not learning the language. And now I have to have, everywhere I go, multiple languages like we're some tourist destination. Maybe that's racist.
Listen, hold on a second, because you're not racist, and I know you, so I know I can say that. Disagreeing with something, we fall into that trap of, well, that's racist. No, it's not racist to say that this happens. The fucking do not eat fucking pack of silica that you get in the thing now comes with a trifold for all the fucking languages.
Yeah.
That's not racist. This is not happening. The driver's test in Minnesota, you can take it in like 16 languages. Are there 16 languages on the street signs?
Well, like I said, that's the whole point of me speaking Spanish, is that there's so many people now from the Latin communities.
And I have no problem with people speaking whatever language they learned to speak before. Everyone should learn how to speak English.
Well, if I'm going to move to China, I should learn how to speak Chinese.
Yeah, it'd be in your best interest because they don't care.
Right, they don't care. If I'm going to move to Russia, I should learn how to speak Russian. They don't care either.
Yeah, if you want to predominantly speak Spanish, fine. I don't care.
But
you have to be able to communicate.
Right, and I got into speaking Spanish because I was like, at some point, this is going to be a skill. Like, where immigration is taking place illegally or legally, where this is the bulk of our immigrants coming across are from South America or Mexico, right? And I just wanted to be able to speak the language. That night, I don't know, I guess I was like, hey, I want to learn a language. Why not pick this one? But it is pretty funny when you start speaking Spanish to somebody and they don't think you can speak Spanish. Or you hear them talking shit about you until you speak Spanish back, and then they're like, oh, did you hear that last part I just said? My bad.
That's my fault. Well, I think it's funny, like, you were like, I'm not sure I said that right. Like, when you were, like, watching you take some of the classes.
Yeah. Originally, that was my big fear, because I didn't
really mess things up.
Yes.
Like, I know very little bit of Spanish.
Yeah. And I'm learning now, like, I'm learning both Spanish from Spain and Spanish from South America. So, like, there's a difference in words. Some words are different,
For sure. Like, real
tiny differences.
Spanish and, like, the Mexican dialect of Spanish.
But there's certain things you can say, like, that, you can just really end up looking like a fool. And I'm sure I've said some of those because I've gotten some looks like, what'd you just say to me?
Oh, shit, what did I say?
Let me repeat that.
Yeah.
Myth 14. The brain drain of smart immigrants to the United States impoverishes other countries.
What did they just say? The
brain drain of smart immigrants to the United States impoverishes other countries.
So are they saying that because the smart people are coming here, the other countries are dumb?
That's the myth.
Okay.
Fact, the flow of skilled workers to rich nations increases the incomes of people in the destination country, enriches the immigrants, and helps, or at least does not hurt, those left behind.
So I don't even know how I can disagree with this one, because I feel like most immigrants, they'll send money back to their family. However, go. You can go ahead. You started saying it first.
I don't see us. First of all, our biggest battle here is illegal immigration.
Correct.
And asylum seekers.
Yep.
I could see if you're a very intelligent person moving here from, India or China or Japan or
coming
whatever,
in on a visa.
And becoming a citizen.
Because the work has recruited you to come here.
Correct. But what's happening is not that. We're getting the other side of that, which is middle class or poor, low-income people from these countries.
Even some of them, right? So most of them are just poor people trying to get to a better life.
Yeah.
All about it.
Yep.
However, we have to figure out a way to prove who you are.
Legally.
To do it legally.
And I'm not... that's the hardest part, right? Like, yeah. We'll talk after.
Where I was going with that was... There's also intelligence reports that we know are intelligence reports because people have seen them and said that. Yes, I've seen them. I saw them.
Right.
Border Patrol guys that didn't know they were being recorded and said, no, that's intelligence.
Right.
Venezuela literally dumped their prisons and sent people here.
Mm-hmm. Well, their crime is
less. So
less.
it's not everybody is not.
We just saw the report that the Venezuelan crime is down.
That has nothing to do with sending their criminals here.
No, nothing.
It has everything to do with their new popular laws that they're enforcing.
Popular laws. Everyone loves them. Yes. You're going to eat grass while I eat beef.
Yeah. You can stay in poverty while I just built the country for every dime.
Go pump all this oil out of the ground that I'm going to benefit
Here's
from.
a hand pump.
Exactly. Myth 15. This is the last one.
Oh, thank God.
Immigrants will increase crowding, harm the environment, and it says insert misanthropic statement here. So anything that you're saying,
Anything that you say about
anything-
illegal immigrants
anything
is false right
is
now.
false.
Let's see how that's a fact.
Okay.
I can't wait for this.
People, including immigrants, are an economic and environmental blessing.
Did you just say an environmental blessing? Have you seen the fucking pictures from the desert of all the garbage?
of the border. Like,
The fucking garbage everywhere. Thank God the environment got that
they're a blessing and not a curse.
for an environmental blessing.
And for the economy.
Yes, because we couldn't use that $100 billion to fucking work on homelessness.
Oh my God. That was the Carnegie Group.
Who in the fuck is a Carnegie Group? We're looking it up. I'm looking it up right now. I'm gonna fucking destroy these people.
Carnegie
I'm gonna get
Corporation.
canceled today.
The Carnegie Corporation. Oh, they have an X.
Oh, thank God, an X.
Yeah.
I'm taking them in this fucking podcast.
The Carnegie Corporation of New York. Yeah. This was published in September of 21, by the way. I wonder how they feel about that now. You gotta love it. Something like that. You know what gets me? Like, something like this is so disingenuous. Obviously, we all get it. The people that are paying attention, they get it, right? But this is the stuff, like I was talking about, people in my orbit where they follow these fact checks, and then they see something like this, and then they're like, oh, it's a .org website. They've been told that .org websites are usually more legit. And then they see myth and then fact, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, as soon as I saw it, I was like, I got to read this to you. I got to see what your reaction is going to be.
Yeah.
And I knew. I didn't even have to read the rest.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to be something equal in there because they put so much like feeling in that first one. Like, it wasn't true. That if the very first myth and fact that you're going to put in there is complete BS, I knew the rest was going to be BS.
Yeah, like that's your gold, right? The first one.
The first one.
We're gonna get you in with this one.
And I saw it and I was like, oh man, I can't wait to read this. I got to get your reaction on this. And I purposely didn't send that one to you just so I could.
Yeah, thank you.
Just so I could have that. But that's what gets me with a lot of this stuff. It's such garbage, and somebody's going to come along and read it and be like, "Oh, that's a fact, huh?
Yeah,
Okay, cool."
yeah,
and they're not going to look it up or know.
But that's what they know they're doing that.
Oh,
That's what they
absolutely.
want.
Absolutely. And
It's about spreading misinformation, right? Like they're so against spreading misinformation because you are not allowed to go do your own research, right?
Nope.
We found that out during COVID.
Mika, right?
Yeah.
It's not their job to tell people what to think.
It's our job for us to tell you how to think.
Right. It's our job to control what you think.
Yeah, control what you think.
So, I mean, some of the stuff they said in there has some merit. Some
Really?
minor. But, I mean, you could take it like they're not impoverishing their own countries by leaving because some of that money goes home. Not all of their scientists are showing up here. You know, we're not taking everybody from everywhere.
Right.
That's true to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
But the side that, the other side of that they're omitting is, okay, well, yeah, but Venezuela's dumping out its prisons and it's the low-income people that are showing up here. It's an economic drain for us, not for the other country. So, yeah, that was pretty nice to get that reaction because I figured that's exactly how that was going to go. And I apologize for not being able to stop laughing throughout the entire thing, but
Well, you had the benefit of seeing my face.
yeah, and I knew that was what was coming on the very first one. It did not disappoint.
Fuck.
So anyways, I have this, you printed this article out for me. I found this and sent it to you, and you got this for me. This, the border wall, or the side-by-side immigration policies between Biden and Trump. And really what it is, it's a list of Trump policies that Biden got rid of. And kind of leads us to where we are right now, right? So let's go run the list of some of these. I'm not going to go down all of them, but I'll list a few right off the bat. And if anybody wants to see the whole list, we'll give the website and they can go look at it. And I mean,
We can post the list.
it just goes on and on and on. All right, so first of all, the obvious one is the border wall, right?
It doesn't work, Ben.
It doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work when there's only 654
Fences and walls
miles.
don't work.
Yeah.
But let's keep putting them up around the Capitol.
Yeah, sure. That even after J6, when they put that big fence up, the Secret Service fence all the way around the Capitol.
Yeah, well, then they put the secondary fence, or I guess now it's the third because they already had a secondary fence around the White House.
Yeah. It's
For
kind
the
of funny,
protests during the Floyd riots
right? Yo, those are those.
when they burnt down that church. Or
church.
they tried to.
Those are
Did
the
they burn
Secret
it down,
Service.
or they just
They
started,
started on fire. It didn't burn down.
Yeah.
But those are the Secret Service floppy fences that they put out there.
Yeah, yeah, just a delay barrier.
An isolation zone.
Yeah,
So, border wall. 654 miles of barriers along 1,933 miles of the Mexico border.
say that again.
There's 654 miles of barriers
Okay.
along.
Some of those are like just the vehicle barriers, though,
Some
right?
are vehicle barriers, some are natural.
like the anti-tank barriers almost.
Yep. Some are natural. Some are actual
Oh,
wall.
sure.
1,933 miles of U.S. border, right? 354 of miles of that are physical barriers, i.e. fences, walls, bollards, Normandy barriers. 300 miles of vehicle barriers, and building a physical wall along the entirety of the southern border and forcing Mexico to pay for it was one of Trump's critical campaign promises in the 2016 race. We've talked about that in the past, right? People are like, he never made Mexico pay for it.
Yeah,
But
no, he did with the NAFTA thing.
with the trade deals, he basically did that and then some. But here's the issue. Trump authorized $5.8 billion for the construction of the wall, and got 458 miles built
Out of 19.
out of 1,933. Right?
Right. And then Biden sold all the parts.
Biden scrapped it.
He scrapped all the stuff that wasn't used.
So Trump went after it in September or October of 2016, and ended September 30th, 2021, and January 20th, the day of Biden coming in, he scrapped it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as soon as turned over power, he came in.
Well,
and
that's like we were talking about before the executive orders.
he was done with it. I missed it. Let's go to this one. Trump or changes to immigration and customs enforcement policies for interior enforcement. What it is, expands the category of migrants classified as priorities for deportation and disqualifies sanctuary cities and other sanctuary jurisdictions that protect migrants from deportation from receiving federal grants. So Trump came in and said, nope, you're not going to protect migrants, and if you're going to protect migrants and completely disregard the federal law, that you're not going to get federal funds for your city or for whatever else, right? Trump signed that in January 25th, 2017, right after he realized when they started bringing in the sanctuary cities and stuff and protecting immigrants coming through. Because, again, the Democrats immediately were like, oh, Trump bad, and illegal immigration good. You can't deport these people,
Yeah.
right? So that's when that sanctuary stuff all started. Again, day one, January 20th of Biden's first day in office, he scrapped that. Changes to ICE policies, and this is the detention of pregnant women. What it is it permits ICE to hold pregnant women in detention facilities, and it ended the Obama-era practice of generally releasing them. So December 14th, 2017, Trump issued a directive which outlined procedures on how to identify, monitor, and track and house pregnant detainees. Between 2017 and 2018, the number of total detentions of pregnant women increased from 1,160 to 2,098. Trump did that, and July 1st of 21, Biden ended it. He said they should. He made it so pregnant women should not be detained. So we talked about earlier about metering at the U.S.-Mexico border. It just limits the number of asylum seekers allowed to enter the United States each day. It was started under Obama and continued under Trump. Trump expanded on it on April 27th of 2018. And November 1st, 2021, Biden rescinded the metering policy, which then blew up to the 7.2 million that we have now, that are the people that they didn't get away. We don't count them as gotaways. And now, in the last, 2 or 3 months, Biden has gone back to the metering at $2,500 a day, right? Mm-hmm. The average. zero tolerance policy. What it is it requires U.S. Attorney's Office along the U.S.-Mexico border to criminally prosecute all illegal immigration cases referred to them by the DHS. Trump used it as he called it his zero tolerance policy to separate migrant children from their parents at the border. We talked about that, right? How do you know? Because they found out that the Trump, even Obama did this. They found out that people were coming across illegally, and they had children with them because there was some sort of thought process that they were allowed to stay, right, if they came in with a family. So parents were sending their kids, and they were linking them up with people that weren't theirs, and Trump was stripping them because there's no way to vet. And so the parents were getting charged, and the kids were being held until the parents could go back to Mexico. Then they could come pick them up, and they could bring them on back to wherever they were going, right?
Yeah.
Biden ended that. January 26, 2021, Biden's Attorney General, Monty Wilkinson, rescinded the zero tolerance policy. So they're not housing or breaking up people at the border. They're not taking kids away from parents. So the human trafficking exploded. That's kind of where it started in that whole process. Family separation. This goes along with this, the previous. What it is, it designates all migrant children at the border as unaccompanied alien children and places them into custody of the Department of Health and Human Services. And that gives the chance to verify that the people they're coming across with is in fact their family, instead of just letting some random stranger grab a kid and say, hey, this is my kid. And then they get to do whatever they want with the kid when they get here. They identified it and said, no, that's not going to happen. We're separating everybody. So Trump put that into May 7th, 2018. Jeff Sessions announced the DHS would refer 100% of illegal immigration cases to the DOJ for prosecution. Accordingly, DHS began separating families once migrant parents were referred to the Department of Justice for prosecution and detained. Now, this is where the messaging is crappy on the Republicans' part. They didn't come out and say, hey, listen, we have to do this to protect these kids. This is what's going on, and there's a problem. If we find out that their parents are actually their parents and this is their family, then we'll, let those kids go back on the Mexican side of the border with their family and send them home. Biden ended that February 2nd of 21. So now, again, kids can show up with a random adult and you don't even know who they are. And they're struggling right now with that whole process.
Yeah.
Here's another one. Migrant Protection Protocols, MPP, or remain in Mexico. So what it is, it required asylum seekers from Brazil and Spanish-speaking countries to remain in Mexico while their claims are being processed in the U.S. immigration courts, thus saving illegal immigration. So it didn't matter if they arrived at a port or what it was. If they contacted the embassy ahead of time, they had to remain in Mexico.
Correct.
Trump instituted that January 28th of 2019. Biden rescinded it in January 21 of 21. So the next day.
Right.
The day after. It seems like everything Trump did with the border, Biden completely just destroyed it. Everything. I mean, you go through the list, and I mean, like you said, there's 23 pages of things that Trump did that Biden took away. And it just goes on and on and on and on. So if you want to see a good example of why we are where we are,
Yeah.
go to Real-Time Economics and pull up this side-by-side
What's
comparison.
that one? Oh, that's the side-by-side.
Mm-hmm.
We'll post it on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
And X and Truth, and we'll so you can get it.
Yeah.
I'll post it today.
We should also post some of the links of the videos that people were just getting destroyed.
We can post everything if you want. We can post. I don't know. Maybe we'll post some of the bigger stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not going to post everything. We've got like 45, 50 stories.
Yeah, I mean, we just need to get a couple things out there. I mean, this is a really good one because
Well, I think that one in the Center for Immigration Studies.
all of this in this report is activism. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is Orange Man bad,
Yeah.
and we can't allow anything that man did to stand, and we have to get rid of all of it. Like you said, they came in day one and just gutted everything, without even asking if it was benefiting both the immigrants or our country, right? And they just opened up the border unilaterally. And now they're like, oh, shit, well, it's election time, and people realize that the border's been open, so we have to close it. How do we close it? Well, let's meter it. That's what Trump was doing. That's what Obama was doing. Let's go back to metering the border at a ridiculous number a day, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think's going to happen when you develop a freaking app, tell people that are all asylum seekers, go ahead and throw this, app on your phone, seek asylum through this app, show up at a port of entry, and we'll be like, oh, look, you've got that app, scan a barcode, go on in. Thank you. I'm sure you'll show up to your court hearing or your process. They kill the Remain in Mexico, start the app, and they opened up the express lane.
Yeah, well, I think that, Trump talked about it in the debate. Like, he said, you either didn't know what you were doing, or you simply undid it because it was me.
Because you didn't like me.
And what's worse, right?
Well, yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Like, you can make arguments for both, but there's zero excuse.
Yeah, that's it, right? Zero excuse. I mean, you're making our country weaker with a border that's open. I mean,
well, and we have like the article like we're talking about, right? So what's the point of it? What's the point of it? Yeah, no, it's a conspiracy to say they're doing it for political power. There's an article here about Elon Musk detailing that's exactly why you're doing it.
Well, they've been saying it. They've been saying the quiet
Democrats
part out loud.
allow illegal immigration to build political power. They have said it out loud. That's what
That's
the
why
article about the DC bill. The Democrats were fighting. No, you should let them vote. Why?
Yeah.
They're not citizens of this country.
They're not a U.S. citizen. It's unconstitutional. But you know what? They're caring less about the Constitution than...
Well, so how they're getting around that is state constitutions allow it. And as long as they're like municipal elections, they're not federal. So the Constitution doesn't cover that. The state does. So if a state constitution allows it, which again, states' rights. But then this is why you need to be aware of what is going on. So you can vote in the people that are not going to reduce your rights.
Right. Well, this is also why you need voter ID at the federal level, right?
Correct.
So
if you want to do that, fine.
Sure.
But all those, come on, we've all gone and voted. You don't get a ballot for president and a ballot for state.
Nope.
It's all the same ballot. So if you're giving that to illegal immigrants, they're voting illegally in a federal election.
Right.
Or they're not. But you don't know. You can't see it.
Yeah.
You can't ask them. In these states that allow...
Well, there's not even any way to correlate the two, right? I mean, your name's not on that ballot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you go in and you're getting put down in a roster. You get your ballot. You go in and you're on your own.
Yeah.
And then you go and you post your vote. But there's nothing tying your name to who you voted for, right?
Correct. Well, what I'm saying is they're not even asking you if you're a U.S. citizen or not to give you the right ballot.
Right.
Like to say, no, we're separating them.
Right.
Okay, so are you using ID then?
Right.
No, I'm a U.S. citizen. Oh, okay, good enough for me.
Right. Which is it's mind-boggling to me.
And I was just trying to look up. Sorry, I got distracted on something. I was just trying to look up. Elon just posted something yesterday or the day before about the SAVE Act. You know what that is? The elections thing.
Oh yeah. Yep. I saw that.
He posts way too many times for being as busy as he is. It says, those who oppose this are traitors. All caps, traitors. What is the penalty for traitors again? It says, Speaker Mike Johnson, the SAVE Act will safeguard our elections by ensuring only American citizens vote in federal elections. Here's what the legislation does. Requires state election officials to ask about citizenship before providing voter registration forms. requires an individual to provide proof of citizenship in order to register to vote in federal elections, allows state officials to accept a wide variety of documents that will make it easy for citizens to register to vote in federal elections, provides states with access to federal agency database so they can remove non-citizens from voter rolls and confirm citizenship for individuals lacking proof of citizenship.
Yep.
Directs DHS to determine whether to conduct removal proceedings if a non-citizen has been identified as having registered to vote in federal elections. Requires DHS to notify a state chief election official whether an individual has been naturalized to ensure our newest citizens are able to exercise their right to vote. I don't know. That all seems to make sense.
It's fair. It seems like it's constitutionally based, right? I mean, that's what you're getting at there. They have to be citizens.
That's what the Constitution says.
That's not what the Democrat Party says. And that's the problem, right? And here's... God, that pisses me off because now it's going to take me off on a tangent.
Yeah,
Why?
but we get worried about these tangents, but it's literally all connected to this.
I know it is, but why are we giving this party credence? Why are we listening to them about this? I mean, this is the party of slavery. This is the party of Jim Crow. This is the party of the KKK. This is the party of... I mean, you pick one bad policy that has like affected humanity at a human rights level, and it's always the Democrat Party. Now we're listening to them about their immigration policies. No, sorry. Your history has been so bad up to this point. You don't get to pick these things. You don't get to fight and try to do anything. We know what you're doing. You've done it since the beginning of the freaking implementation of our own laws.
Yep.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
It's time for you to step aside. And honestly, it's time for everybody else in this country to wake up and see that the team you're batting for, if you're playing for the left, has been nothing but a bunch of corrupt assholes. I just had this pop up just on the corruption level, right? Mm-hmm. Dianne Feinstein, she passed away, right? She's gone. But
R.I.P.
Yep. She here's just a look back. Her salary was $174,000 a year. She never went past it.
Yeah.
She owned a $5 million condo in Hawaii and a $55 million private jet that she would travel to Hawaii with.
Yeah.
And she gave her husband a $100 million deal in government funding.
Weird.
This is the type of corruption that we have on the Democrat side. And I'm not saying the Republicans are any better.
No, they're just as bad.
But there are some Republicans that are trying.
There's a few. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see, like, I think you said it to me a long time ago. The ones that everybody attacks.
On the Republican
There's a reason
side,
for that.
There's a reason. Because they're trying to go back to...
I think, honestly, I think Cinema and Manchin tried.
Yeah, and they got so sick of it.
They have beliefs that 100%, if that's what you believe, go for it. I might not agree with you, but I can work with you.
Right.
And they picked one side or the other.
Two.
However, there was two. Yeah, correct, two.
And I think we're down to probably maybe 13 or 14 on the Republican side.
Maybe.
I think I could call. I mean, I'll have to look at my list again, but I think I've got it to 13 or 14.
Yeah, I've never gone through to look to see, but I mean, you can look at. I mean, even Marjorie Taylor Greene's now doing the insider trading shit. Yeah. She posts that. They post that shit about her now.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not giving her a pass. It's still gross. But if everybody else is doing it and that's how you're making money.
Yeah, my problem is the virtue signaling and then going back and doing it.
100%.
Like she literally had just done an interview on how she doesn't do that, and then she put in like $1 million order.
100%. But I'm going to say this. I think there's a portion of people in Washington that started out with good intentions.
100%.
You know what I mean? And then they just fall into the trap.
Yeah, they're there too long.
It's too tempting.
Term limits,
right? And we could fix so much in this country if we got rid of lobbyists, if we got rid of big corporations buying candidates, the super PACs and all that crap, and we put in term limits. We would get our country back. However, no one will vote for. We've talked about it repeatedly. No one will vote for that in the House or the Senate. No one.
Yeah.
They won't do it. Why? Because you're ending their power.
Right.
So, yeah, we're in a dangerous spot. And immigration is just a symptom of it, right? I mean, this is, how am I going to keep my power? Well, I'm going to open the border and bring in more voters, because as more people wake the fuck up and realize that I'm a giant scumbag on the left and my policies are terrible. I mean, what policies do they have? Make America worse? That's your policy? That's your platform that you're going to run on?
Yeah.
You know, put American voters last?
Well,
That's your policy?
Yeah.
Weaken the inner cities even more by making them sanctuary cities and bringing immigration in, and now you're not taking care of the black people in the inner cities that you've built your base on?
Well, and I think
that's your platform?
Like, there are a bunch of groups that are starting to call that out now. Like,
they should.
Well, hold on a second. Like we talked about with the New York thing, with the $12 billion.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me you're giving everybody $10,000 and you can't help us out?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, right.
Our communities are suffering, and you're giving it to non-citizens.
And I guess one of the things that really pisses me off about the Republican Party is their lack of giving a damn, right? Like, okay, we'll let the left have all of the inner city because they've done enough to, like, you know, brainwash them into this is what you're going to get. But that doesn't mean you just give up on the inner city.
Correct.
I think Trump is the first candidate in forever that's gone in and been like, hey, you know what? I need to start picking off this, because he had, in his first campaign, he got, I think it was like 8 or 9% of the black vote. And his second, it was like 12 or 13. And this time they're talking about 23 to 25% of the black vote. So he's the only one I've seen ever go in there. Every other Republican before that's been like, nah, whatever, I don't care.
Well, look at his events in Harlem.
Yeah.
And when have you ever seen a Republican candidate hold an event in Harlem and have like thousands, tens of thousands of people show up?
Right. And
the people, the reporters that were sitting there, like, trying to get people, like, why are you here? And they're like, why wouldn't we be here?
Right.
Someone's here to talk to us.
Finally.
Someone's here to listen to us.
And to give us a chance at what we want, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like you said, when you see all these legal immigrants coming in and you're putting up in a 5-star hotel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you live down the road in Harlem.
You're getting $10,000 Visa gift cards.
And you're like, wait a second, what? Why do they get to live there? I don't get to live there. You put me in the shit house down here.
Yeah, you put me in the projects.
And you're telling me that they get to come here and you're giving them free money?
Yeah.
What about my free money?
Well, that's not just African Americans. That's everyone. Right. Like, that's everyone who is stuck for whatever reason at poverty or below.
Take anybody. Like, take your average American citizen. Is
for sure.
in debt with a house. They're in debt with vehicles. They're working their asses off, getting 40% of their money taken for the federal government.
Yeah.
They have no recourse of argument whatsoever. Yeah. They send off their taxes every year, and if it doesn't match, the IRS comes back immediately with a notice saying you owe us this much more, or there's a penalty. You will continue to pay us.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, somebody comes in from Venezuela, gets put up in a 5-star hotel, getting meals given to them, giving free money given to them, and they're being coddled and babied just so they'll vote for the Democrat Party.
Well, and to go back to that, like, I don't even think it's necessarily to vote, right? Like, obviously, we've got the 3 stories from the 3 areas that I picked out. There's stories everywhere. But we've got the stories that prove that that's what they're trying to do for municipal elections. However, the biggest thing is that, and I don't think people realize it, is that, you remember the census that Trump tried to do, and he tried to have it only for citizens.
Yep. And they shut it down.
And they sued. Mm-hmm. And the Supreme Court shut it down. And I can't understand for the life of me why. But that is changing how many representatives people get.
Yep.
So these sanctuary states, they're Democrat run, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're allowing all these immigrants to come in. They get more representatives.
Based
the other
off population,
states, everything's based off population. Mm-hmm. So when the census comes out, they redistrict, right? That's why you get all the gerrymandering lawsuits, because they redistrict every 10 years.
Right.
Based off of the census.
Mm-hmm.
And that census is counting illegal immigrants.
Correct.
So if there's 1 million illegal immigrants in your district that weren't there before, guess what?
You have 1 million more
You're
bodies.
You're getting more votes.
Right. And
you're taking away from the rest of the country.
It's a redistricting. And now
everybody gets 2 senators.
It's a redistricting on a massive level.
Yes.
And it's being wielded, right, as a weapon. But again, that comes down to replacement theory. They're replacing voters, and they're They're losing a portion of their side that they didn't think they would ever lose, and they're replacing them with illegal immigrants and trying to reshape the voters, reshape the voting demographic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. I mean, just noodle this out real quick, right?
Noodle.
Military. Sorry.
Okay. Nope, that's all right.
If we find out in this election that a large number of illegal immigrants in one of these sanctuary cities votes and had an impact on the election to where Trump lost, or there's some major conflict with illegal voting, what do you think that's going to do? What do you think that's going to cause? Do you think it's going to be January 6th again? Because it's going to be worse.
One, I don't think you ever find that out because they can't ever let that out.
Well, sure they can, but here's how it'll come. Listen, you have registered voters in that state, wherever it might be.
Yeah.
You have the number of kids through Census Bureau that have taken place throughout every year. A new census comes out, right? So you know how
every
many?
10 years.
Is it every 10 years?
Yeah, census is 10 years.
How come I got so many from? Do they do it by county and by?
Yeah.
Okay, so it does come out because I've had 3 already in the last like 5 years here in our.
Well,
our
so
area.
your state might do one, but like
That's
the
what I'm saying.
federal one is.
Do they do it by city?
I
by
don't know.
State,
That
by
I don't
county?
know.
I'm sure they do because I've had several.
I've only ever done the federal one.
Oh.
That might be a Wisconsin thing.
Because I've had several. So there's got to be ways they can look at the city level, the county level, whatever. They'll find it. They'll find how many kids. They're going to be able to see how many kids there were, and they're going to be able to put the numbers together and be pretty close to the right number of how many voters there should be legally.
Yeah, but
if they have more votes, which we know of from other reports from the 2020
but what
election,
do they do about that?
that's what I'm saying. There's nothing they're going to do, but it's not going to be up to them. It's going to cause, like you said before, the media is not going to tell you the truth.
Yeah, they're just gonna cover it up.
They're going to cover it up, and that's going to lead to the whole conspiracy mind coming out, and people are going to blow the fuck up like they did on January 20th. If it happens twice in a row, and Biden wins or whoever the corruptocrat that's going to be in office is elected, it's going to be a giant problem. They did January 6th the last time around.
Well, who did though? We've talked about how there's federal agents involved.
That's what I'm saying. When I say they, I mean
Yeah.
they went after the J6ers for a riot, right?
Yeah.
They did that last time around. Well, nobody got snatched out of the halls of Congress, right? Nobody got snatched out of the Capitol. Bless you.
Excuse me.
That is their biggest fear, right? They've gone around the world and done this in so many other countries where they've, instituted regime change, where dictators have gotten ripped out of their seats of power and brought into the streets. That's their biggest fear. That was why they went so hard on J6, is because for the first time ever, the ruling class political elites felt like they were not untouchable, right? It scared the hell out of them.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so that's why they went so hard. Well, nobody got ripped out, but if you continue this at this pace, at some point something's going to happen where we will have that. And that's the end. That's the end of this country. This country burns after that. If you're in that camp, that political camp that's pushing this, and like you're setting us up for that eventually. There's no other. History has shown us there is no other option than to go that route, right?
Yeah.
We've done it ourselves here in this country to create this country. We've seen everybody else do it, from Tunisia, Egypt, Libya, Syria. Everyone else has gone through this in what we've seen in our recent past or recent history. We've seen in South America, they're going through this. Cuba has gone through that. This is the path that you're leaving. This is the path that you're putting out there for the people with your political ideologies. Instead of working across the aisle in a nonpartisan fashion where we used to be to make this country be better, you're taking the opposite side of that and enriching yourself and just unilaterally making decisions that aren't in line with what we've all been brought up on, which is the Constitution, and you're creating the path forward for something like that to happen. So if we get into another election cycle and it ends up being questionable for 2 in a row, and it goes the same way, it goes to the left in 2 election cycles in a row, what recourse are you leaving the people on the right?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean? You're not leaving any. They're not gonna. And it's almost like they don't care. They're like, I don't care what you do. We'll just come down
honestly,
hard.
I think it takes one more before people truly wake up.
I don't know. I mean, I guess for me, it just depends on what.
Like, you're going to have the
out.
people on the right that are just irate over it, right? Like, this is twice. But I think then you have the independents that are like, hold on a second. That they're not there yet. But if you do 2 in a row, then they're going to be like.
I think
But you have to get.
It comes down to what.
To start.
It comes down to what evidence
out.
is out there.
Yes.
You know what
they
I mean?
have to they have to stop fighting each other. And they have to, like.
Yeah.
You can't, like, each state needs to get together with the AGs, like, go after it hard. You have the Supreme Court. So, I don't know.
I don't know either, but I do know that the population is not going to keep putting up with it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
no, I agree with that. I just
and-
think it takes one more to
Yeah.
get those independents.
Yeah.
Like, one time, okay, there's shady, but look you can hear it in people. They're like, well, yeah, but COVID was going on. Well, no.
There's always excuses being
yes.
made. Yeah.
And now, what do you have now? Nothing.
Right.
You don't have COVID. Why are there drop boxes? Why is Wisconsin letting drop boxes now?
I know that bothered
because
me.
they spent $10 million what was it? How much was it? $100 million on the Supreme Court? Because you
I don't
guys
know the
elect
exact
your
figure, but
justices.
Right. I don't know what the exact figure was,
But it was the
massive.
same. It was the same deal of the Soros-backed DAs,
Yep.
right? Like, oh, we can target this, and the Republicans are like, yeah, let them have it. Like, they did not spend money on it. Why? Why would you cough up? Well, we've got the Supreme Court. Like, we can just appeal it to the Supreme Court, and maybe they're right. But the Supreme Court doesn't often take cases.
Huge roll of the dice.
Because of the state rights. They don't, if it's in your Constitution, if it's something that they can relate, they don't like overturning state Supreme Courts.
Well, constitutionally, they're not going to, right?
Correct. Well,
They
correct.
shouldn't.
But, like, I don't know if it is. What I'm saying is, if it's in your Constitution, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I think that was just written on a piece of cheese, wasn't it?
There's so much. Basically, if your Supreme Court is owned by the left, you have a blank check. Do what you want.
whatever you want.
Right.
Well, look at, like, the Ninth Circuit.
Right.
They used to, even the Obama, like, when I went through FLETC, the Obama administration used to call it the wacky Ninth.
Yeah.
And it was because it was so liberal. The Obama administration.
Right.
But we got our law classes from a special attaché from the chief counsel's office at the White House. And they called it, the chief counsel's office at the White House called it the wacky Ninth because no one understood what the fuck they were doing.
Well, I mean, but that's, again, talking about border policies. That's what happens when you have activism, right? If you're an activist and you're... No, Biden isn't an activist. Biden has never been.
Biden's not doing anything.
He's an empty vessel.
He can barely talk.
He's an empty vessel. Everybody
He just
knows
talked
that.
about how Philadelphia got him the win in the Delaware Senate seats.
Yeah, right. Well, Philadelphia's in Delaware.
Well, he either admitted to massive voter fraud or
by proxy.
or he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
And it's the or. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
of course.
Of course. Everybody knows it. I mean, but that's where we're at. And he's not an activist. He's just an empty vessel being filled up by activists.
So even when he wasn't an empty vessel, he wasn't an activist. He was just doing what people told him to do. Like,
Right.
whoever wrote those checks.
Bought and paid for.
Yes. And like 98% of the politicians.
I just had this conversation with one of our buddies, our sound guy, because we worked a
Our
shift
sound guy,
together.
yeah. Hey, Blake.
Dan Crenshaw. He's a Republican.
Yeah.
He's bought and paid for now.
100% he is.
You know what I mean? And this pisses
He's
me off.
he's part of the Cheney group.
This pisses me off because he's a wounded vet.
Yeah.
I'm never going to take away from his service.
Right, for sure.
Never. He's a Navy SEAL. And when he talks, people should listen. You can see it. Like, I've seen this a lot where people, you'll start talking about stuff pertaining to combat, foreign affairs, military buildup of this, that, and the other thing, because you've been trained, you know what you've done. You've done more than... It's 1% of our population that goes and actually has this kind of experience, right?
Yeah.
when you're on the SEAL teams, I mean, they have a progression just like every special operations unit has a progression from like beginning all the way up to like SEAL 6, right? And all those teams are ridiculously well trained. They're not the top 1%. SEAL 6 is the top 1%, but all of them have the ability to make it to SEAL 6 should they want it, right? So when he talks, people will listen. You have a duty. This guy has a fucking duty to be using his military experience to like not be bought and paid for. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and here he is up on a pulpit.
Mm-hmm.
And when he first came in, I was like, fucking,
Yeah.
finally.
Like, yeah, for sure. And he had that beef with what's his name from SNL.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, dude, like we can have different opinions. Like
Right.
he went on SNL and he kind of beat that guy a little bit.
And I see some of the stuff that he does, and then I'm like, yeah, okay, I like that. And then
Yeah.
some of the other stuff, I'm just like, dude,
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Yep.
And then you find out he's a World Economic Forum guy. Then
Yeah.
you find out he's part of the Cheney Group. Then you find out, and immediately I was like, all right, you're paid for.
Yeah.
You're bought and paid for.
Well, once you're with the World Economic Forum, it's over.
There is nothing more disappointing than to see a guy who's been there, done that, has the experience that he has the track record he has, completely throw your integrity out the window and become bought and paid for. You have a duty. You raised your hand. You took that oath. That oath that you took as a Navy SEAL is far more important than anything you're doing in Congress at this point. And you fucking turned your back on it. That to me is more treasonous than... I'm not calling him a traitor. I'm not saying he should be part of.
No, I know
treason.
what you mean. It's just the
That to me is the biggest slap in the face.
there you go.
To any of the all of us that feel the way we do. And I've watched him be called out by veterans for it, and he just like shits all over him, and it drives me fucking crazy.
Just wait until he runs for president next time.
It drives me. I don't know. I don't know what happens. I don't think he would get elected because I think there's a huge portion that won't vote for him.
He's gonna run.
It blows my mind. Like, I don't know. He is a giant traitor to the cause.
It's like Kissinger, right? Kissinger?
Yeah, Kissinger, yeah.
Kissinger? Same thing. He was a vet and he was bought and paid for by people too.
Yeah,
He's establishment fucking rhino.
He was a big depopulation guy.
Was he?
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, go look at some of those videos. It's terrifying some of the stuff he would say. And that, I mean, honestly, that's another World Economic Forum policy. They think we have
a Bill Gates thing.
Bill Gates, World Economic Forum, the Bilderberg Group. They think we have too many people in the world. I'm not a scientist. I can't say we do or we don't, but I do know that you saying that we have to limit the population 30% is a problem.
Yeah.
How are you planning on limiting that?
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Right?
Yeah.
When do we have to limit that population by? Like, what's your date? What are your plans here? Because I don't want to be in the part that's
going to
limited.
try to convince people not to have kids, or are you talking about getting rid of people?
Right. Because that's, I don't know. But super, super disappointed with that to see him go.
Hit the microphone.
Right
yeah. Sorry,
I
like my eyes started watering, so I went to rub it and hit the microphone.
Yeah. I don't know. Super disappointed in guys like that are military, that have such clout in things they say, and that have honorably served, and that have done things that 99% of the population have not done. Yeah. They've shown that bravery, they've shown that honor and integrity, and every branch of military has an ethos that gets put in you, an esprit de corps that you're brought up on, and to see you abandon that and then just be like, nah, I'm here for the money.
Yeah.
That is super disappointing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Fuck you. That's what I gotta say.
There you
go. Yeah. Okay, I'm done now. So.
Okay, sweet. Good job.
You got anything?
I don't think so. I don't know. I just try to get back to the immigration thing. Just wrap that up, I guess.
Go for it.
I don't know. It's like how you started it. What are your thoughts? Well, my thoughts are everything's fucked up, right? Mm-hmm. Like there is no right or wrong answer. Well, I mean, there is, but there isn't. right? Like everybody can have a different idea on how to get there. We have to stop the flow of people coming in across the southern border. We cannot withstand it. We'll never be able to fucking handle these numbers. You're talking $12 billion in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at what point are people going to realize we cannot afford it? Has nothing to do with whether or not people want them here or not. I don't care if they come here. I don't. One, do it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Two, we have to limit it because we can't afford it.
Yep.
The drain on all of the social welfare stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid,
Right.
everything.
I mean, is it fair? Like, here's the
The
thing.
hospitals, all the county services.
Here's the thing. How is it fair to people in their mid 40s to their 50s,
Yeah.
early 50s,
Yeah.
who've been paying into Social Security, who've been paying into all these programs, when they hit 65, 70, because of now this huge influx of people in our system, there may not be money there for
It's
them.
not going to be there for them.
It won't be
At
there for
least
them.
not the money you put in.
Right. So you've had all this money taken from you.
So Social Security is a fucking Ponzi scheme.
It is. It's a pyramid scheme.
Well, we'll have to talk. We'll have a whole episode on that.
So I mean, you've gotten all this money taken from you that you're not going to benefit from because people have continually let people into the system that aren't paying taxes that are benefiting from it on social programs.
Yeah.
So that's not fair. It's not fair to anybody. It's not fair to anybody who's an actual citizen of this country, and to do it to replace votes and to change voter demographics
Yeah.
is absolute bullshit. That's just so you can keep power. You're screwing
That's
me
what you're doing.
so you can keep power.
Yeah, but like you said, they don't care about anyone.
They don't.
They don't care about kids. That's clear.
Yeah, that's clear.
If they don't care about kids, you don't care about anyone.
Right. And that's where we're at, right?
Yeah.
And that is the most true statement that probably has ever been made. If you don't care about your children, if you don't care about other people's children, you don't care in general.
Yeah.
You are a
Yeah,
scumbag.
you're scum.
And that's where we're at. And it's sad, but it's the reality. And honestly, I just had this conversation with somebody the other night, and they asked me, like, what are your beliefs? Do you think in our lifetime that we're going to be on a battlefield fighting again? And this person was a vet. And I said, what do you mean, like World War III? And they said, no, I'm talking like a civil war. And I was like, oof. 70-30. 70 we're not, 30 we are. 70-30. That's my honest take. 70-30. 70% no, we won't. 30% yes, we will.
Oh, okay. I thought you, for a second, I thought, as I was just looking something up, I thought you went the other way. Like, oh, I'm
No.
not there yet. Yeah, 70-30 seems right, though.
And it
Like,
shouldn't be.
Because people are dividing people on purpose.
On purpose.
Both sides do it.
And it's like a battle between left and right.
It's not even a battle. Honestly, like, we talk about the uniparty. It's not a battle of left and right anymore. It's a battle of just breaking people down. It's breaking down society so that they can change it to what they want.
That's exactly what it is. But I think in part of doing that, they've put all this crap in there that's the left agenda, and it's pushing everybody to the right that isn't part of it. So it's going to end up being a battle of left and right. It's going to be, I mean, when you think like terms of the last Civil War, you had cousins fighting cousins based
Yeah.
off of like, oh, we live 35 miles away from each other, but everybody south of the Mason-Dixon is on one side and everybody north is on the other, right?
Yeah.
So you had cousins fighting cousins. Well, think of this. You could have neighbor fighting neighbor in your own community.
Yeah. That's crazy.
You know what I mean? Like, I might have 3 neighbors down here, and it could be, 2 of us against 1 in terms of political affiliation or belief. But think of like just your average cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Maybe 8 houses in that road. What's the breakdown? Because
Yeah.
we've talked about it: 40% left, 40% right, 10% middle.
Yeah. Where
20
does the where does the
then-
middle line up?
And you don't know where the others are, right? So you have an unaccounted for portion that you don't know, but it's like 40-40-10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's insane. And when I served and I was getting out, if somebody would have said, what do you think the likelihood of us being in a civil war soon would be? And I'd have looked at you like you're crazy. I'd be like, shut up.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah. You're being dumb.
Yep. And now there's less than 15 years,
Yeah.
and it's 70-30. We should never be at a 30% like it could happen.
Yeah.
And honestly, it grows every day. Like it, and that's sad. And it comes from all these, like you said, that if you don't care about kids, you don't care about anybody.
Yeah.
Going back to the border wall, the border wall was stopped. We are not stopping illegals from coming across. Biden's put in a freaking cell phone app to speed up asylums.
Yeah.
You register on the
Well,
freaking
then
asylum app, show up at the port of entry, and
once they
you're
get
brought
court
right in.
case, then they just dismiss the court cases and everybody just gets it.
Right.
It's just blanket amnesty.
You're in. 7.2 million of those are here, right? More than pretty much Obama and Biden together,
Yeah.
right?
Biden and Trump.
Yeah, sorry.
Or Obama and Trump.
Obama, Trump.
I fucked it up too.
I'd have to look at that, but I'm pretty sure that is more.
I don't know.
There's like
to be
1.
honest,
It was like
I don't know,
1.6
and I don't know
million.
how the stay in Mexico thing affects it.
Well, that's where Trump was less, right?
Right.
But then COVID-19 came in and like
they just-
everything just
yeah.
dropped off. They
But
stopped everybody.
They just closed it down.
Correct.
Oh, amazing they could do it, huh?
You could do it then, right?
Yeah.
But now you can't.
As long as it was COVID, it was fine.
You have Biden unilaterally decided that every one of Trump's policies pretty much for the border was garbage, took them away, and created the path that we have now. You have kids that are being taken from HHS and being given out to the same person, multiple sponsors. He sponsored multiple kids. It's not one, not two, not three. It's multiple. It's a lot.
Yeah.
You have senators now questioning Mayorkas in hearings. Have you found these 850,000 children that are missing? Nope. Are you looking for them? Well, it's not my job.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not your job to find the
Incredible.
850,000 kids
Yeah,
that came
it's
across
your department.
that you scooped up, that you put into HHS service, that the ORR is supposed to follow up on, called one time and can't find the kids, and now we don't know if they're being sexually trafficked, and we don't know if they're being trafficked for work purposes. 850,000, and you heard Hawley saying that it's upwards of 100,000. There was 400 and some thousand encounters over the course of Biden's administration where they had seen 400 and some thousand kids, right?
Yeah.
The number's got to be staggering of what's
The
going
real
on.
numbers are going to be astronomical if they ever come out.
If they ever come out, right? All of this stuff, all of it, like we've been talking about, for votes, for voter demographic, all of it.
Everything
You have sacrificed
for power.
85,000 kids for power. 85 fucking thousand kids for
Yeah.
power.
Yeah.
You're a scumbag.
Yeah.
You don't deserve to sit in the halls of Congress. You don't deserve to be in any administration. You don't deserve to have executive powers. You don't deserve, if you're the Supreme Court and you're ruling in favor of this, you don't deserve to have judicial powers. If at some frickin' point somebody's got to step in and be like, this is unacceptable.
Yeah.
The border's fucked up, but kids are off limits. Mm-hmm. You cannot do this.
Yeah.
And it's not happening.
Yeah.
And I don't know when it's going to happen. We'll see. We'll see if Trump gets in. What does he do?
I don't know.
And if it doesn't happen under Trump, that's unexcusable. You know what I mean? If you don't fix this, if you
Well,
don't
it all
step
depends
in,
on how everything goes down because he can't stop it by himself. He can do a lot of the border stuff he did, but like as far as fixing why they're doing this, term limits, shit like that, that stuff has to go through Congress, and that will never happen.
right? That's the hard
It's
part.
certainly not going to happen unless they get a supermajority and Trump somehow convinces them,
Right.
like, you're doing this or we're not doing anything,
Right?
and just shuts it all down.
Yeah, yeah.
Fine.
We're going to close the government down.
We're closing
You're
the
not
government
getting
down
paid.
until you get term limits. There's a term limit for the president. There should be term limits for everybody else.
Agreed. That would be a big step into the.
Just shut it down. The first budget, no. You will pass this now that you have term limits. Pass it, and we'll talk about a budget. That's
Right.
it.
Yeah, I agree.
Pass your no insider trading.
Yep.
Those two, or nothing else gets done. Nothing gets done.
Right. Too
And
ginormous.
just go immediately to every state and be like, they have the power.
Right.
They do this. We will fix everything.
2 ginormous steps into taking away the corruption.
Yeah. Yeah.
The biggest 2.
Yeah.
And
And then you got to do something about the lobbyists.
yeah, it shouldn't be legal.
It shouldn't be legal.
Bribery's never legal anywhere else, right? I mean,
Yeah.
fraud's
That's
not
the only
legal
place.
anywhere else.
That's the only place it's legal.
The only
DC.
place. DC, right? So that goes a long ways to starting to fix this, because then you will have people that will care enough to do something.
Well, I think if you immediately go out there, like, man, if I were an advisor, right? Like, your speech on January 20th is going to be term limits and anti-corruption in the Senate and in the House, and that is it. We are not doing a single thing until this is getting done.
Until this is done.
And just immediately don't do an election party. Go out.
Walk away. Start working.
Walk away and fly somewhere and hold a rally and say, this has to get done. And start calling people up for their bullshit.
Yep. Hold your Republicans accountable too.
Everybody.
You have to.
Yep.
And if that doesn't happen, like I said, the 70-30 becomes even bigger.
Becomes higher.
70-35, 70-40, or 60-35, whatever. 65-35. Math is hard.
Yeah, you're really doing well.
65-35.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're it's going to be brutal.
Yeah. Yep, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But
it's my biggest fear, bro. Like I was telling that individual, I never thought when I finally made the decision to say I'm done with the rifle, I'm not going to fight in a war anymore. Like, not because I didn't believe in the war at the time when I got out. I didn't believe in how we were fighting it at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
They made it more dangerous for every American soldier, every service member. And I was like, yeah, that's bullshit. I've seen enough people die. Like I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
And I told this guy, I was like, I never thought when I got out that I'd be like, yeah, I might have to pick up a rifle and get back to work in the United States. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now you're like, well, for fuck's sakes, this could happen. And what do you do? Like, what do you do? Like, I got kids, I got a family, I got priorities and stuff I have to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still have a duty to your country? Like, what do you do? What do you? Every one of us has to make a decision when that time comes, and I don't want that time to come. I don't want there to even be a potential. I don't even want to have to be having this conversation. You know what I mean?
I know this conversation's fucked up.
And I don't want, like, because you're talking about the death of a nation, and not just a nation. You're talking about the death of the nation that has done more beneficial things for the entire world than any other country throughout human history.
Yeah.
America at its best is a giant beacon of freedom and has protected.
That's why people come here.
It's why people come here, right? We have protected and we've done more for people than any other country on the planet. And at the same time, the dark sides of our country have done more wrong and more illegal shit to other countries than we will ever even know.
Not even countries, like just people.
And we'll never know. We'll never know the totality of it because they keep it away locked in their
There's definitely some dark history in the U.S., like slavery and what we did to the native people. Like, well, we can never escape that. However, all we can do is learn from it. Right?
Then drive on.
Yeah. We do what we can to make it better.
Yeah. It's a sobering reality, but we're on the verge of losing this country.
Yeah.
And that's sad. It's sad for anybody who's ever loved this country, but it's really sad for? It's sad for our kids. It's our grandkids, our grandkids' kids. They're not going to grow up with the same kind of country that we had if we don't fix this.
Yeah.
And that's tragic.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at the rest of the world. The rest of the world is a tinderbox right now because we're not the America that we were.
Yeah.
I just saw in Trump's debate, he said he'd have the Ukrainian war solved before
he started.
And did you see what Putin just said?
Mm-hmm.
Putin just came out in an interview and said that, the American president for Mr. Trump said that he is willing to entertain a peace deal and Russia wants peace. He thinks Trump's going to win. He's already posturing himself to be like, all right, when this, I'm going to stop. Trump, I'm going to stop.
But we talked about it, right? Like, I don't want to get back into that, but we talked about on another podcast, like, what he's going to do. And it's just going to be, Biden admitted yesterday or a couple days ago that he pushed for Ukraine for expanded NATO.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's what Putin wants. It's easy to fix.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, you're not going to we're going to protect them. We won't put them in NATO. We won't put our troops
Yep.
there. We won't put military gear there. But you are also not allowed to put anything there or
That's
go
it.
into that country.
That's it.
That's it. That's it.
And-
Make it a neutral area, a DMZ, if you will.
And here's the deal. All you had to do with Putin is take that stance and then explain to him, bro, you've been getting your ass kicked by a bunch of ragtag, mothball forces from the Ukraine.
Yeah, we will fuck you up.
We will destroy you in a heartbeat. And
Yeah.
if you threaten nuclear weapons, will you think we don't have them?
Yeah. Do you honestly think that we don't have the capability to shoot them down?
Right. And
Yeah.
then all you have to say is, we can get along. You will stay the hell out of Ukraine. You can keep Crimea if you want.
Yeah. Well, they're never going to give it back because they
Yep.
need the
Warm
warm water port.
right? You can keep Crimea if you want. Fine. You are going to stop with Ukraine. And if you advance, just like you said, if you touch a hair on the head of a single U.S. service member, if you advance a single inch further than
You
Crimea,
won't be able to leave a bunker.
you're not going to see the light of day tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then slap the satellite imagery down of wherever Putin
Yeah,
is.
whatever fucking boat or whatever
Yep.
he's got.
And say, I will come for you wherever. There's nothing they can do to hide from what we have.
No.
And that ends that. You give Putin what he wants. You come to an agreement. You
Well, it's not even what he wants. Right? I mean, it is what he wants, but it's not even like, oh, we're giving in. Listen, if it prevents a fucking world war, yeah.
right,
And it's something that we can still protect Ukraine.
right.
It's just we're not putting military
Let's stop
equipment there.
Let's stop the bullshit. Let's stop
Yeah.
the bloodshed. Let's stop having freaking biological research facilities
Right.
in Ukraine. Let's stop the money laundering. Let's stop
Yep.
letting presidents' sons go there and get freaking put on boards of everything, and then having our president,
But
vice
what's
president
Barron
go
going
there.
to do?
Right. I don't know what Barron's going to
I
do.
think he'll be fine.
He'll be okay.
Yeah.
Let's stop with all the shady bullshit that got us to Ukraine in the first place. Let's stop. How about this? The coup that basically took place to get rid of a Russian
Correct.
linked
Yeah.
president
Yeah,
of
this
Ukraine.
all started with us creating a coup.
Right. So let's stop with this bullshit that we're doing, and then pretend like we're innocent and that Putin's the great villain in this. And let's stop with all this garbage. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's tell Putin this is over. We're not going to do it anymore. You're not going to do it anymore. Stop. And do the same thing with China, like we were doing. Get away from Taiwan. You're not touching Taiwan. I don't know who you think you are. Yeah, you got a bunch of fifth-gen fighters, but they're built by your freaking people in factories. I wouldn't trust that at all. Just based off the products we get here from China, from Amazon, that break in a day and a half. They build a building in a week in China, and then it collapses in the first earthquake that comes. Like, yeah, well, okay, that's great. You got it up in a
Hey,
week.
we have a machine that creates earthquakes now.
I heard about that at Direct Energy.
Yeah.
Weapon.
Yeah. So, hey, let's just send that over there.
We talked about DEWs a little bit, and
Yeah, we did. So let's do that. Let's do a whole one on that because that's crazy.
I don't know if people are ready for that, bro. 'Cause there's a lot of things coming out that people would have years ago been like, "That's conspiracy theory,"
You're crazy.
and now they're
There's
like,
whole areas in Antarctica that you can't go to because the government's doing testing there.
"Yeah,
Yeah,
and now they're
weird.
going to be like, "What the hell?"
Yeah,
But,
weird.
yeah, we will go over.
Don't
some
worry,
stuff
there's
like
just penguins and polar bears there.
that. So, yeah, we're getting to that point, bro. Let's figure it out. We have to, as a country, figure it out. Biden's not it. Kamala Harris, not it. Gavin Newsom, not it. Whitmer, not it. Michelle Obama, definitely not it. You don't have anybody. It's got to be Trump. Jump on the freaking Trump train 2024 and just let's try to figure this out and fix it. And if he's not the guy, we got to learn from that and find somebody who is. If the next person that is RFK or Tulsi,
Tulsi.
and they're on the left, great.
Fine.
Fix
I don't
it.
care
I
as
don't
long
care.
as they fix
it. You've got to fix it. But that's the problem, is it's not getting fixed.
Yeah.
Sad reality.
Yeah.
Tear.
Yeah.
All right, well, I mean, we've done this one to death. Mm-hmm. We went from border walls to now Trump and Biden, and
But we're talking about corruption and why they're doing things. So, like, it just all led to the same thing.
well, it's all part of
It's
it.
all connected.
Like, yeah, we're never not going to have, it's always going to tie back to something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And while we're on
sure.
it, release the Epstein list.
Yeah. Yeah.
That might-
was a, what was,
that
what
might
was
go
where
a
was
long
that one from?
I don't know. That's
Is that
another.
Elon too that
Yeah.
posted? It's like the biggest crime here. Like
That's the biggest crime that's out there that is not being prosecuted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he like in the same one he talked about Bill Gates.
Mm-hmm.
Like Bill Gates is the number one guy.
All
right.
He's been there.
Anyways,
We got to plan some of that stuff going forward.
yeah, we'll talk about some of that.
Next up, we'll probably have
Might be a hot topic.
hot topic.
Hot topic, yeah.
But I'm excited for it because we both have
Daughters.
So next up, I think we're going to talk about trans stuff, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's not really even about like trans, like that part of it. It's more about like the parents' rights part, the athletes, stuff
Right.
like that.
stuff that's blowing up around here.
Yeah, everywhere. Well, and you've got the Olympics going on, right, coming up. So this year, so like there's the big piece of that, like,
Right.
and the yeah. Anyways, we'll talk about it in that episode. This is just
It's you can tell we're getting more passionate about stuff
yeah
because
Well,
we keep finding stuff.
The other thing, like, and I'll just say, like, there was an article the other day, a trans athlete won and is going to Paris, right? That's all the headline is, right?
Yeah.
Like, sparks controversy. It's a woman, biological woman, that won in a women's event. And people are like, well, it's trans, like, instantly, like,
Right.
everyone freaks
Clickbait.
out. Yes, it's clickbait. Like, the media is the worst.
Destructive and disruptive.
Anyways,
and
we'll talk about all of it.
that's good because I got another 15 myths.
Shut the fuck up. Do you really?
I can't wait.
God damn it.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging with us and supporting us through this and listening. We're kind of building as we go here, but we're getting some good reviews from people, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
Getting
it's
some
cool talking to
messaging.
people about it and people like,
Pitching in, starting to become part of the community.
yeah, for sure.
I just
And
got a text from Al. That was that ding that we heard halfway through.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and he's like, I'm listening to our last podcast. He's
yeah.
like, right now. And he's like, and I remember you're not lying when we said that you'd pull up, he pulled out a gun on somebody and he's like pointing right at their chest. And
Yeah.
they weren't scared. And
Yeah.
pistol comes out and then they freak out. It
Yeah.
was that portion.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
That's funny. I got one I got one right after you.
Did you?
From somebody at work that's like, hey man, I'm listening to the
Yeah.
last one right now and talking about how you weren't even going after Trump and Ben just like got super defensive.
yeah. And again, like in that part, I tried to explain it the best I could. Like,
No, I know. And I was trying to too. Like, I just think we were just like at that where we were just going right by each other and missing
yeah.
it.
Well, and I was defending.
But that's the beautiful part, right? Like, we've told it from the beginning. Like, we're not going to agree on everything.
Well, no, you're not. I mean,
And that we're not going to lie and say that we do either.
right. We're not.
We do have a lot of views that line up, and we have some that don't.
And I think for me, like, it's a little bit more personal.
For sure.
And because I was lied to about what we were going to do, right? And
Yeah.
like, again, when you see somebody who's like not understanding, not that you're not understanding, but other people are definitely not understanding. I mean, we've had plenty of conversations up, together at work where you're like, Jesus, are you serious?
Yeah.
When you've gone through that crap and you've gone and done something, you've kicked down doors, and on the other side there's somebody that you have to end that person's life, or you've watched your buddies get their lives ended, and not just one, not just two, not just three,
Yeah.
multiple, right? When you go through that kind of crap and you get out and you're like, I was fucking lied to. You look for somebody to help you push back. And for a lot of us on the military side of things, that's Trump. So when you hear somebody say things like, I'm going to drain the swamp, I'm going after corruption, and then you see him start to do it, he didn't obviously get nearly as far as I wish he would
Well,
have.
like you said, he was obstructed the whole way.
When you see that guy is doing that, that's the first person that has done that
Yeah,
at all.
for sure.
And then you learn.
Well, he's the one that introduced everyone to George Soros.
Right.
Right.
Then you learn that the Uniparty is there and he's battling this. You learn all these things. When somebody's like, oh, he's a bully, he's a this, he's a that, I'm like, I don't fucking care. I don't care. Even into going back to it, my perspective, are we going to put a complete pussy in the White House to do this job?
Yeah.
Are we going to put somebody who really cares about feelings in the White House to fix the people that are corrupt, to go after them, the people that are enriching themselves, that are, I don't care. Like, so yeah, I probably did come across as like going after people on it. And, honestly, again, like that's one of those things I don't give two shits. Like think what people want to think. And that all stems from the military side. Like that's like it's a giant mind screw.
Yeah.
In the military.
I can't imagine like
getting out and having all that in your head, right?
Dealing with all of that and then the shit that comes out afterwards. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
And that to me is like the worst part.
It's a complete mind fuck.
It's the worst part. It's like taking everything you did and thinking that you did the right thing, turning it upside down and wondering if
now you're fucking
wondering if you were the bad guy.
Yeah.
Was I the bad guy?
Yeah.
This is kind of off topic, but have you ever seen that video of the German soldiers that are in the trench, and he's like, "Are we the baddies?" They've got like skull insignias.
They got British accents.
Yes,
or what?
they did.
Okay,
They did have British
right.
accents. I'll show you that clip. And I use that as to lighten the moment there. But there's got to be if you're a vet and you're have woken up to all the stuff that's going on, you have these same things in your head.
Well, that reminds me of that clip. So like one of my favorite shows is Band of Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Right. When they're interviewing the guys at present day, or 10, 15 years ago now,
Yep.
about the soldiers, and the one guy said, "I thought about it all the time. Like
Every
maybe
day.
he likes fishing and hunting, and we would get along really well.
Right.
But he's there doing what he's supposed to do, and I'm here doing what I'm supposed to do, and it's the way it was."
And you know,
It's crazy to think about, like on that level. Like, yeah, we got along really well.
We used to do these things called pass and review, and basically the president comes and you do like what you see like North Korea, all their military stuff goes past. We do the same stuff too on a smaller scale, and the president would come. But the whole week before that, you'd have like all of your previous eras of people that were in your unit show up, and you do like a meet and greet, you barbecue, you have events and stuff. You're basically honoring their service and getting the chance to meet them. So I got to meet some of the World War II vets.
Yeah.
But you get to meet some of these guys who've gone in there and done that, and hearing their stories and stuff, they knew what they were getting into, but never once did they question whether they were the good guy or bad guy,
Right.
even after.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I look at that and I'm like, I think to myself, like, when my dad, he was in Vietnam, and he questioned, like, were we right or were we wrong?
Sure.
And that's where I'm left. Like, were we right or were we wrong?
Well, and I think obviously it's different, right? Like, you had the atrocities of the World War,
Yeah.
but America was attacked,
Right.
right?
And I think
like,
you know,
even if like stuff had changed, well, we were still attacked.
right. The big yawn.
Yeah.
I mean, when I signed up, I didn't sign up to go to Iraq. I signed up to go to Afghanistan and fight Al Qaeda.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what all of us did.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we're in Iraq.
Yeah.
And staying in Iraq. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Anyway.
yeah, that's the I get where people are like, "Oh, he was defensive." And yeah, I am
Well, I think
defensive.
this guy was just like, he didn't disagree with
I'm
you.
sure
He
he
was
found
just
it funny.
laughing that,
Yeah. I
like
just
it-
feel like, because when I listened back to it, I was like, yeah, I was a little bit heavy on that right there.
Oh, no way. Really?
All right, so, well, thanks for hanging with us. And we kind of went off on a rant there. I kind of went off on a rant again, but obviously we're passionate about stuff, which I
Yeah.
guess is good.
Yeah, that's good.
It can be bad. But I'm looking forward to the next one because, again, this is going to be another one that's a hot topic. So give them your spiel. Let's get this done.
Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, Twitter. Oh, that's X. There's a cat in my face. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. It's eating my microphone. Our website, bluecollartakes.com. And then spread it around. Tell your friends, anybody that you think would enjoy it. Invite people to our Facebook page. All of it. Let's get the word out.
Yeah, well, let's keep going.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Right on. Thanks. See you.